What is wholesaling real estate? So it's simply putting a property under contract below market value and then assigning the agreement over to a buyer for an assignment fee. So, in other words, if I had a property under contract for $100,000 and I found a buyer who will purchase the property for $120,000, my assignment fee would be $20,000. So, a wholesaler does have legal rights in the property when they enter into a purchase and sale agreement with the property owner. And the legal rights that you technically have are to just purchase the property, meaning no one else can come along until that contract expires to purchase it. And if the owner were to make a side deal with somebody and you found out, you could technically go to court over it. But I've never seen that really happen. A lot of times we just see that as a loss and we just move on from it. But that is simply all it is you're basically giving up your rights to purchase it to somebody else for a fee. And typically we try to always go through $10,000 to $20,000. What's the process of wholesaling A to Z? So first we're going to go over the traditional way, which is simply being able to wholesale in your local market or somewhere that you can physically be there in person. Why are wholesalers so valuable? So they're valuable because they're able to close on properties very quickly. They already have an inventory of cash buyers who have cash on hand ready to deploy tomorrow, instead of such as like a realtor who would bring a retail buyer and then has to go get an inspection, has to go get a loan through the bank, and that's going to take over 60 plus days. So wholesaler also places massive value to flippers out there and even builders, as their main focus is how to remodel a home or how to build the home. They are not pros at identifying and locating these type of properties. So they go out and they find wholesalers who can do it for them, because essentially it's like learning a whole new career for them and they don't want to do it. So they're willing to pay $20,000 because they're going to make money off the house and they're going to rely on you next month to bring them their next deal. So essentially, wholesalers are like a builders and flippers engine to their business. So they're extremely, extremely valuable. Is wholesaling real estate legal? Yes. Of course, real estate wholesaling is legal. Otherwise, this course would have never been made. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop some links below in some states and you can check out the laws yourself. I am not an attorney and I'm not giving legal advice. So I want you to reach out to a local attorney or the markets that you're going to be wholesaling in and talk to them and to make sure that you're following the correct guidelines to wholesaling real estate. But understand that wholesaling has been going around since real estate's been around. You might not have known about it until the internet came out, but wholesaling has always been around. And again, please contact your local attorney and talk to him or the market that you're going to be wholesaling in. Title companies and closing attorneys. So what you need to know about these two is whatever market you're in, and it goes by state. So whatever state that you're going to be wholesaling in, you're going to need to know, do you need to close with a closing attorney or a title company? And this is not something that you get to determine. This is the state. So sometimes you can use either or. Sometimes in states, it's just title company or it's just closing attorney. For an example, South Carolina, Georgia, they don't use title companies, they use closing attorneys. Now out in Texas, they use title companies. So they're both going to do the same job for you, which is they're basically going to ensure that the property is free and clear of all liens or encumbrances on the property. And if they're not, we're going to try and take care of that before closing. Sometimes the titles come back and there's some massive issues, meaning maybe it could be the smallest thing as a paper wasn't signed from 25 years ago and they can't find the person. And it will actually kill the deal. I've had it happen. It's wild. Also comes back, there's been $50,000 government liens on properties. That's happened to me when purchasing a lot. So that's why you use a closing attorney and a title company. Could somebody skip them and just close on a property themselves? They could, and that's called a quick claim deed, and you could actually do that yourself with the seller at the courthouse. I never suggest doing that, and typically you only do that with a family member if you want to add them onto the title, something like that. Never just risk it like that. That wouldn't make any sense. With that said, say that you were to purchase a property and come to find out 2 weeks later, you get something in the mail and there's $100,000 lien, but you use the closing attorney. You are not liable for that. So it definitely saves you. And it's very easy when you work with them. All you do is you just turn in the purchase and sale agreement. They will send you wire instructions how to send in your earnest money, and then you eventually are going to send in your assignment contract, and then they will reach out to your buyer and seller and coordinate kind of everything. My attorneys that I consistently use do that for me. Now, understand that's not true with all of them, and that's when there's something called a transaction coordinator that we'll get to later on, and that's someone who actually would coordinate the closings. But sometimes title companies and closing attorneys really do help out with that, so that's always nice of them. Here are the three important documents that you're definitely going to need, and I'm going to provide them to you. So number one is a purchase and sale agreement. Number two is going to be an assignment of contract. Number three is going to be an addendum. So let's go over what each of them are. So purchase and sale agreement is what you're going to use with the seller. And that's going to state that you're purchasing the property for this amount. It's going to state how much earnest money you're going to put down. We typically always just do $100, and sellers really do not even question it. Sometimes they do, typically they don't. Um, the most important part about the purchase and sale agreement is that you have your inspection period in there and the assignment clause. Those are so important because the assignment clause is what's going to allow you to do this entire thing. If you don't have that, you can't assign the property. You would have to actually purchase it yourself and then resell it. But don't worry, because my purchase and sale agreement already has it in there. Another thing you're going to need is, or second most important thing within the agreement is the inspection period, because ultimately this is what is going to get your earnest money back if the deal doesn't work. So within, say you put 20 days inspection period. I actually have an agreement though that I'm going to be giving to you all, and it actually has the inspection period is the entire time of the agreement as to how it's written out. But typically, and you'll hear from a lot of people, if you had an agreement and it stated 14 days inspection period, you have 14 days to go find a buyer, right? And on that 14th day, you can just submit a letter. We don't approve of the property. It's not going to work for us anymore. And they legally have to release the earnest money, and then you're able to walk away. You didn't lose anything. So the inspection period is really important because that's what's protecting you to get your money back. Otherwise, you just end up losing it. So moving on to the assignment of contract. One of the most important parts that I think of in the assignment of contract is non-refundable earnest money. We always make buyers put $5,000 non-refundable. I know that sounds like a lot, but there shouldn't be a problem if the buyer has already seen the property, gone by it. There should be no issue. What's the problem with putting that amount of money down if you're serious about buying it? So essentially what that means is if the buyer says, hey, I'm not buying this anymore, It doesn't matter. The $5,000 we keep regardless, and it's non-refundable. So that's always to have in every agreement. So you definitely know that your buyer is legit. Another thing within the assignment of contract is to always make sure that there's a clause that states that this agreement can't be assigned. Sometimes you'll have a lot of wholesalers reach out, act like they're the buyer, and really they're trying to assign your contract to their buyer. And it gets so messy, and the deal always gets wrecked and never works out typically. So moving on to an addendum. Now, an addendum is only used when you need to correct things within the agreement. So for an example, if the buyer said, hey, Tyler, I don't want to close under my name anymore. I'm going to open up an LLC and I want to close under that name. We would then make an addendum and we would say buyer is now going to close under whatever the LLC name is. I sign off, he signs off, seller signs off. That's what an addendum is. We're just correcting the agreement. So it's just good to have on hand. Technically, just to do a wholesale agreement, you just need these two things, and that's it. So with that said, those are the only documents you need to worry about. I do suggest, though, when you do get the agreement, just consult with an attorney because I don't want to give anybody legal advice. I'm not an attorney. I don't want anybody to get in any type of trouble. I can tell you, though, the agreements I've used for years, and I've never had a single issue. But still, again, I suggest that you do speak with legal counsel.
All right, so we're going to go over the purchase and sale agreement kind of quickly. I did already state to speak with an attorney because I'm not an attorney and not giving any legal advice. And a lot of times paperwork and how they write it can become confusing, and you really do need an attorney because they're able to basically understand that language. So I'm going to go over basically what each of these things mean, what it's saying essentially. But other than that, if you're really trying to deep dive into it, I want you to go to an attorney and speak with them. So up here, we would put the date we're writing the agreement, seller's name and info, our name. We would also put our information underneath. Property address with the parcel number and the amount that we're buying the property for. So, number one. So this right here is going to go over like the fixtures inside the property and then what's going to be left behind, such as like personal property, and they would list it out right here and for the seller to check off. Let me just make sure with yeah, and just want to note one thing. So in here, it does state the full legal description of the property is the same as the recorded with the county recorder's office in the county in which the property is located and is made part of this contract by reference. So what that meaning is, um, basically the legal description. We could find that where you find the parcel number, and you can actually you could add in legal description. I used to do that, but I don't anymore because the closing attorney I was using for the longest, um, they actually just told me not to put it on there. I believe at one time we messed it up, so it caused an error. So we just do the property and the parcel number, and that's what I would suggest you guys do. And if they ask for the legal description, we can you'll find that right by the parcel number. It's on the GIS map and it's in BatchLeads and PropStream most of the time. So number two, earnest money. This is just talking about the earnest money that we agree with the seller. You'll notice that I don't have a time period on this because it gives us time to get it in. Number three is just talking about the closing date right here. This is where we put the date that we're going to close. Notice that I put title company to be determined because a lot of times if we turn this in and get the title going, our buyers come along and say, no, 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 I want to use my attorney. And that happens all the time. So that's why we have that. Um, Also to touch over Right here is stating that the seller needs to basically pay for some fees, such as the document fees, any liens, mortgages, or encumbrances, taxes, insurance, anything like that that's owed on the property. And the taxes need to be prorated. So that is what's stating in there. Risk of loss in case something happens to the property. If, say, it gets burnt down, it means that they'll have to refund us our earnest money and we don't have to move forward with the property. Number 5 right here is just basically the seller is stating that she's not aware of liens, encumbrances, but at the end of the day, any of these 3 right here, it doesn't really matter because we have the attorney, and the attorney's going to clarify and make sure that, this is correct. And, it's just stating like here that the seller has not transferred or conveyed the property, maybe someone else in the meantime. So that's what that's saying. Right here, 6 and 7, they're just disclosures. 6 is just saying I'm basically an investor. 7 is just saying I don't have a license. 8 is just the notice of cure within 3 days. 9 is breach and remedies if anyone breaks the agreement. So for an example, like if the seller breaches the contract, the buyer can cancel it, right? Number 10, the entire agreement, that's just stating that's nothing to really go over. Severity, ability, determine the due diligence period. So this is going to be crucial as well because due diligence period is what gets your earnest money back. So if you say put $500 down, a lot of times in the agreements it's like you have to put like 14 days of inspection period, but in this it's actually the whole length of the contract if you just don't approve it. So that's something to know. You'll also see that buyers shall be allowed to a 7-day extension of closing for each week the seller does not allow access. Put that in there, especially if you're virtual wholesaling. If you can't get inside the property, then we're just going to keep pushing the closing date back until we can. 14 is just talking about the attorney fees. 15, it's just saying I'm buying it as is, and I'm going to pay all the closing costs. And the rest of it is that's really all. And if you had any additional, things that you guys agreed to, you would write them right here. Anything that's not in the agreement that you want to add in would go right here, and you could just bullet it. And then down below is where the seller and buyer will sign. See, my name's right here. I'll print. I need to put name right here, and then I'll sign too. And that's all. So that's it. I know I skipped over a few of them just because I don't want to misguide you, and I want the attorney to sit down and read it with you. That's why I'm not reading it with you, because I don't want you to think something that I'm saying and go with it when it's not 100% accurate, because legality behind it all can be very confusing. So with that said though, guys, that's basically all it is. You just need to make sure if anything's come with the property, list it out, your earnest money, your date that you're going to close at, and then you're going to need to just go down here, any additional, which there really shouldn't be, and just signature. So really that's it. You really don't even need to, look at any of the rest, but you do need to understand what it is saying. So with that said, guys, that's how you fill this out. All right, so we're just going to go over the assignment of contract. I filled it out for you guys so you know where to what you need to go in here and edit. So up top you'll see the date. You just need to correct the date and the year. Underneath you're going to want to put your business name or your personal name. And if you do personal name, just delete business right here, and then just put your personal address. And this is just stating that you're the buyer. for the original property is what it's saying. Then underneath is going to be, excuse me, for the property term located at here, you're putting the actual property address now. Right here is going to be the buyer's name, and then the buyer's address, and this is the seller's name right here. So this is just explaining what's going on up top. All right, moving down. Total purchase price. This is where you're going to put your purchase price. And then you can skip one. And number two, you're going to fill, we'll start right here. We're just stating again the purchase price. And then right here, we're putting the closing date that we agreed to. And remember, this needs to match what we have it with the original owner, or it needs to be before it. So this also is stating that they agreed to pay all the closing costs. Right here, they agree to pay all the closing costs. Right here on number 3 is where you need to go in and put how much earnest money are you making your buyer put down that's non-refundable. And you'll see right here, non-refundable deposit. And I write out 5,000 and then I put 5,000 right here. And then you are finished. So right here, if you need to put any other special clauses in the agreement, anything like that, this is where you would add them in. So with that said, that is it. You would sign, and your buyer would sign as well. If you have 2 buyers, you would just copy this and then just put right here underneath it. But that is simply how you fill this out. I know I didn't read this with you and go deep. Again, I want you guys to speak with your attorneys on these agreements because they're not all going to work state to state. There might be some that where the attorney says, hey, this has to get changed before you can close on it. But the agreement is pretty straightforward. With that said, this is a pretty good agreement. We use it, never really had any issues with it. So let me know, though, if you guys have any additional questions.
So here you're going to decide whether you should do a company approach or the local guy approach. I have personally done both. I today do the company as I find that's the best way if you're going to scale this business. Now, if you're just trying to do this by yourself on the side, you could still do either or. But at first, that's how I was going about it, and I was just doing it in a market that I lived in. So a local guy approach worked great for me. Now that I went nationwide, I do a company approach because I can't do the local guy approach anymore because it obviously wouldn't make sense. Um, so the company approach, if you're trying to scale this, you should certainly go that route. Hey, seller, I'm with Home Buyers LLC, and we're interested in buying your property. And then when you're negotiating and things like that, you always can, play good cop, bad cop, and the bad cop's always going to be the business that you worked for. You just blame it on them. Let me work with them, see about the price, and you come back. So it's always a crutch to lean on when negotiating. When you're a local guy, they know that you're the guy. You're the one making the decision. So it might put more pressure on somebody. Obviously, doing the local approach, you most likely already know the whole market, so you kind of do have a step up. It is kind of owners seem to feel better with a local guy versus a company. I will say I have seen that. It seems that a lot of homeowners believe that home buying companies um, are giving you the lowest offer possible, which is somewhat true. So a lot of homeowners know that and they choose to go with the local guy. So there are pros and cons. I think though, I think you should determine this on how you're going to market, number one, and determine it whether what markets you're going to be in. So with that said, I would suggest doing the company approach. What market should you choose? So when you're choosing your market, you should first think about, are you doing this traditionally or are you doing this virtually? Because if you're doing this virtually, then you should go and pick out a few different cities and you should try to stick by these guidelines of at least 100,000 people in the town that you're going after, and to have a average home sale of 150,000 to 250,000. The reason you want to stay in that population and price is because once you first exceed the price of 250, it's very hard to find cash buyers. A lot of people then are going to need loans, and that's not going to help close on a property that needs to be closed quickly. And a lot of times, the whole reason we have these properties so deeply discounted is because there is an issue of some sort and they're trying to close quickly. So it's hard to find a cash buyer once you reach over 250,000. Now, you want at least 100,000 residents because, again, it becomes very difficult to sell the property and it's just going to sit much longer. You might sell it and you might not. Another big thing that I look at is anything coming to the area? Or is there any big manufacturers moving in the town, hospitals being built, things like that all draw growth. And all real estate is going to start rising because it's going to start being a demand, how everyone's going to start moving in. So think about those things when you're going into markets. Now, if you're doing it traditionally, obviously you should already know your market if it's your backyard. Even if it's a place that you got to drive a little further to, you should even check out maybe other little cities, towns nearby. Um, Also, there is a formula that you can use, and this will determine whether it's a extremely hot competitive market or it's not so hot, right? And it's not the best, meaning that it's going to take more time to sell a property. So what you would do is you would go on Zillow and you would type in, let's say, Greenville County, South Carolina, and say about 1,000 homes come up for sale and there's 500 of them pending. So there is a formula, and what you do is you would do 1,000 minus 500, and you would take that number, which would be 500, and you would then divide it by the homes pending, which is 500 again, and that would give you the average months it's taking for a home to be sold. So anything less than 3 months is going to be a competitive hot market, and anything more than 3 months is considered a buyer's market essentially because homes are just sitting. So think about those things when you're choosing your market, and always stay in a radius around a city of like 30 miles and stick within the metro. It's going to be so much easier when it's time to sell the deal. 6 top marketing strategies. So here are the 6 top marketing strategies to get in front of property owners and to get in front of investors, cash buyers. So number one is cold calling. And if you're personally going to be pulling a list and calling all these property owners, you need to get a dialer. So you need to use batch dialer. And you'll be able to call 3 lines at once. So you'll be able to call a lot of volume of people. Now, you can do it that way, or you can do what I personally do now is we have a third party company that calls for us, and then they send us leads. So we only call the people who are interested. That's another way that you can go about it, and you wouldn't have to get a dialer. Typically, that company has everything already set up. Number two is going to be texting, and we use launch control. So one thing with texting is, well, first off, launch control is going to be the best platform to use. It used to be BatchLeads for texting. Since the laws recently changed, a lot changed with texting, and you can't say certain things. There's a lot of negative keywords such as interested, property, offer, sell, things like that. You can't even put it in a message in the first message and send it out to them. So there's you kind of have to have an idea and strategy as to how you're going to do that, which I can help you because we currently do it and we've been able to maneuver around it and still make it work. Um, so launch control is going to be the best platform for 2024 and for 2025 coming up. Number three, direct mail. And I use direct mail when I cannot contact a property owner or they're very old and they're just not responding back. I'll send a mailer out and I'll actually send it out through my CRM, which is ReSimpli. So there's a button built in and you're able to just click it and then you can choose what you want the direct mail to look like and it will just send it out just for a few, I think it's like 50 cents. Now, if you're looking to go heavy into direct mail and send out hundreds of mailers, you should use BatchLeads. I believe has a direct mailer inside, so you can actually pull a list on there, upload it on there. You actually create the postcard that's going to go out, and then it will send it out all on BatchLeads. So you should check that out. Number four, driving for dollars. So this is just simply getting in your car and driving around in your neighborhood and then, leaving notes on the doors or in the mailboxes, which always works great. They do have virtual driving for dollars on Batch Leads, which they offer. Basically, you're on Google Earth and you're able to move around and you're able to click on the addresses and it saves it into a list. So then when you're done, you're able to go skip trace the list and call. The one downside is that Google Earth is not always updated, so you just have to make sure that what you're looking at is still what it looks like. Number five is going to be PPC, which is pay per click, and that is Google Ads. So somebody's searching online and they filled out your web form, and that is going to be the highest quality type of lead that we can get is going to be the PPC leads because somebody literally searched it, went out of their way and searched it, and then filled out your web form. Um, and it's an incoming lead, so we're not reaching out to them. Number six is another great strategy, agent outreach. So and this is free. You're reaching out to agents and you're talking to them about, working with them and for them to contact you when they come across these type of distressed properties that we're going after. So agent outreach is all about building relationships, and a lot of agents do not like to list junky looking homes. It doesn't essentially make them look so good. So they rather have an investor in their pocket that they can call right away, right when they come across a house like that. So out of all these strategies, they all work great. The ones that I currently use a lot today is going to be the Google Ads, the texting, and calling. Those three are the biggest that I use in my business today. They all work. You'll meet people who are going to say that, hey, your marketing strategy is outdated or it's not going to work. Any marketing strategy works. It's just being consistent with it and calling, texting, directing, all of it. It's all about consistency. Now you'll notice that, pay-per-click Google Ads might be the best return, but it's going to be the most expensive. So if you don't have the money, it's not where you should start. You should be starting with calling or texting, something like that, or driving for dollars, agent outreach, free, those two free things. So check these out, see what one you think will fit you best, and then later on try out other things. But once you find a strategy that is working for you and you're gaining traction, don't change it. Um, Go harder at it actually. And then later on, once you feel like you kind of tapped out in it, move on, try something else. And then you'll have different avenues. So with that, we'll also get into it in the other slides and we'll break them down. All right, so we're going to be talking about polling list. Now, you're going to want to be polling list if you're going to be cold calling, texting, direct mail, things like that. You're not going to have to pull a list if you're doing Google searching or paperclip. but we'll get into that when we get into those slides. But these are the lists that you would pull if you are going to be doing the marketing strategies that require it. So I'm going to give you the top ones that I love to use. I also listed out just a few extra ones that all work great. And I just want to let you know there is no such thing as a magic list. You might hear someone say that. It's completely false. Every list is the same. It's all about hitting the list multiple times. Even though, say that you contacted all 1,000 people, you got to keep doing it and you got to hit them over 10 times. You'll eventually get a sale. So, starting off with the properties I absolutely love to go after is vacant properties. Anything where it's completely vacant. The reason is it's so easy to send someone to the property, especially if I'm doing this virtually. I do not have to call a renter and coordinate it. So many times it's such a pain dealing with these renters. They don't want to show the property or they're not answering their phone. So vacant properties are awesome. And also, real quick, vacant properties are great for buyers, especially flippers, because when they close, they can start flipping it the next day. So they're not having to wait for the seller to move out, which does happen if there are renters in place. Absentee owners, so the owner's not living in the property, so typically he's renting it and they typically are not so attached to that home and they're willing to sell it. So that's why that's a good list to go after. High equity, so they have a lot of equity in the home, so they would most likely they're more willing to sell it because they'll get cash and they're not going to have to go pay off a high amount loan and they're really not going to see anything. So high equity has done great for us. Um, Pre-foreclosure. So this is going to be a hot one. It is competitive. So this is going to be somebody who is about to go into a foreclosure. They just got a notice, hey, you haven't paid. We're about to take your property unless you can do something right now. So a wholesaler can come in and purchase the property. And the best part, though, I will say about pre-foreclosures is a lot of times you can do something called subject to mortgage, and you can just step in and take over the mortgage payments and literally get the home with no money in. So there's a pre-foreclosures are pretty cool with that. Obviously, you can still do that approach with other properties, but pre-foreclosures, we already know that there's a loan in place and something's happening. Liens, so people who owe money for different things, people put lien on their house, they're more willing to sell. People who recently shut off their water, there's obviously a reason, and nobody's obviously living in a property if the water shut off. Same thing to go with fire damage, and a probate list where somebody recently died, and during the probate period, called pre-probate, you can go after those people who are about to receive that property and work a deal prior for it even to come out of probate to purchase it. So these are great lists to go after, and we'll also go in on a video on how to pull these type of lists because there's certain criteria you want to stick to, such as ownership years, things like that. So we'll get into that when we actually go deep dive onto BatchLeads or PropStream and pull a list. So what is skip tracing? So that is just simply now getting the property owner's information to contact them, such as their phone number, email address, and their mailing address. With that said, the platforms that I use is BatchLeads and Launch Control. They are probably the best for skip tracing with being accurate. There's a lot of platforms that you can skip trace on, but majority of the phone numbers are not going to be correct. It's going to be wrong numbers. Now, within BatchLeads and Launch Control, you also are going to get bad numbers, and that's just skip tracing in general. There is no platform where everything is 100% accurate. And what it's doing is it's looking online, it's looking for this person's information that maybe they filled something out online. Maybe it could be insurance that they filled out one day and now that insurance company sold the data. It could be as simple as that. So Batch Leads and Launch Control seems to be the best with that. The cost ranges, it might even be cheaper than 8 cents, but 8 cents to 15 cents, I believe, is what it is. But understand it does seem cheap, but when you're doing thousands of leads, it does tend to add up. So depending on, I believe, what package you buy on batch leads or launch controls will determine the cost you pay per skip tracing. So essentially you would pull a list and then you would skip trace it. I pull a list from PropStream and I upload it into batch leads, and then I will upload it into launch control to send out a text blast. And been doing that for a while. Sometimes if for some reason I'm not getting a lot of responses, I will actually then take the same list and skip trace it in launch control and see if there's a difference, which there has been multiple times. So that's really all skip tracing is. It's very simple. You just upload it in an Excel sheet and it spits it back out within 60 seconds. Very simple. SMS. So what that is text blasting. So text blasting is amazing because everybody gets your message, right? Everyone does get a missed call, but they don't listen to your voicemail. So many people today just delete it. They don't listen to it. They're not going to answer your call. But when you send a text message, everyone reads it, regardless if it's uh, from a crazy number. It doesn't matter. You're going to read it and you get it on your phone. One of the issues, though, that recently happened with the texting marketing is that they really cracked down on the laws and a lot changed on it. So essentially, it used to be you buy a list and I would upload it on a platform I used to use for texting, batch leads, and I would blast the messages out. Hey, are you interested in selling your property? And then say in 5 days I upload the same list again and I blast them again off different numbers, right? So you're essentially hitting these people as many times as you want, and you're using different numbers so they think it's a different person. Since they changed the law, you can't do that. You can only contact these people once a month. You cannot use certain words, such for an example, you cannot send a message that would say, hey, Mary, are you interested in selling your property? Because the word interested, selling, and property are negative keywords and they'll get flagged by carriers today. So they have made it difficult and they're going to continue to do so because so many people got into it, and I guess there's just so much harassment things that are going on. But SMS is still a good strategy to have going. I like to do them all and just to have them come in. I do suggest though, start with just one and be consistent at it, and then later on branch off. Texting, if you're gonna do it, use launch control. That's who I use. They're the best one that out to date today for 2024 and coming up 2025. All I see is launch control. If there's anything else, I'll definitely let you know. But you should get a response rate typically of 20%. That's typically what we get. So it is pretty good. It's more of a response than calling. Um, but again, if you're doing this traditionally, just remember when you text them, it's going to be a little different because you're not going to be able to upload that list again. So it's something to definitely look into and see if it's right for you. So the number one marketing strategy we're going to start with is cold calling. And this is going to be probably the best way to start, especially if you don't have a lot of money. And it is efficient. It is a lot of work. Typically, a lot of wholesalers go out and you hire a third party company to do the calling for you and to pre-qualify the sellers to even see if there's any interest. And then they can put that into your CRM where you're storing all your leads, and then you're able to call them. You could do it like that, or you could call yourself and get a dialer. And what a dialer does is you take the list that you just skip traced, you upload it into the dialer, and it will you would put a headset on and then it would automatically just start dialing. You also can get a dialer that has 3 to 10 lines, so it's calling say 3 numbers at once, and whoever picks up first, that's the phone it goes with. Now if someone else picked up at the same time, it has like a whisper message on it, so it'll do something like Hey, it will sound like you're dropping your phone essentially. So it doesn't sound like you just hung up on them. Then when you're done calling, the dialer will actually call that person back. So it's pretty cool how it works. Great way to get leads. Cold calling is not dead whatsoever. And you'll see that where people say that and they'll try to persuade another type of marketing strategy your way. And really they're selling something to you. Just understand that any marketing strategy, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be calling versus pay-per-click leads, which is like Google. They are both going to work. If you're consistent with it, anything is going to work just with consistency. So just know that. Direct mail. So direct mail, I am not huge on it and it is extremely expensive. The one thing with direct mail is you're not going to get a deal on the first mail out. You typically need to have about 5 mail outs coming behind it. Meaning October 1st, you send 100 mailers out. October 14th, you send them again, and you keep doing that, and maybe on the fifth time, they finally call you. It's extremely costly for direct mail, and the return on it is just not that great. I only use it if I'm really trying to contact a certain property owner and I cannot get in touch with them. That is when I'll use direct mail, and I have it built into my CRM. So it's just like one click and it sends it. And the CRM is ReSimpli, and it also has, a caller in it, excuse me, a dialer, texting. So it does everything. Um, but direct mail is great if that's how you want to go. Just remember, do your research on it, talk to people who are doing it. But the response rate's going to be pretty low, 1 to 5%. It's not going to be like calling or texting. So just be prepared when you get into it. PPC and Facebook ads. So these are going to be your most qualified lead. So the reason I say that is because somebody is going to go on the internet and type in sell my house fast, and then they're going to fill out a web form, and then it's submitted, and you receive that web form. So the reason it's most qualified is because you didn't reach out to them, they reached out to you. They literally took the time to fill out that web form, so the motivation for them to sell is there. And it is a great way to get leads, and you don't need to hire people for it. You just need to run ads on Google. It's going to be the most expensive way to market, but probably the best way. And you're only going to have to talk to about typically 12 to 15 leads that and it will equal a deal. So it's excellent with conversion rates and excellent for all that. It's just so expensive. Facebook ads are good. They're not going to be as good as Google. You have to remind yourself that, Facebook ads are they're just pop-ups. When somebody's on Facebook, it just pops up, right? Somebody on Google actually searched for it. So the PPC lead's going to be more qualified because the Facebook ad just popped up at the person. They didn't search for it. So just know that it's expensive. There's a lot that goes into pay-per-click, and I have a mastermind actually coming out on it where I actually spent $10,000 to get data from somebody who has spent over $20 million, and he sold me the data, and it's unbelievable. And I'm gonna create a mastery. I already have permission, and I'm gonna be giving away those Excel sheets that has all the negative keywords not to use, the keywords to use, what markets, the areas. There's a lot that goes into it, and if you don't know about it, you can lose a lot of money. So make sure to do your research before. And this is an excellent strategy if you're going nationwide. Driving for dollars. So driving for dollars is a free method, and it's simply getting in your car, driving through the neighborhood. and looking for distressed properties, it is a great way, and it's free, which is awesome. So one of the best tactics is to, when you locate a property, say you're driving in your neighborhood, you find a house that's falling apart, you just get, it does not need to be professional, and it honestly shouldn't be. It should look as if you were just scrambling to find something to write on. And you need to find something, write your name on there. Hey, I'm interested. My name is so and so. Here's my phone number. Stick it in the door handle or in the mailbox. And I have had the best conversion rates with the property owners contacting us, because they're able to see, hey, this person is serious. They were just here. This is written in ink. They were literally outside. It's not some guy calling me. So every time I've done that, they call. It's an awesome way to do it, but if you don't drive, it is going to be, obviously, it's not going to really work for you. You could use Google Maps, but the problem with Google Maps is it's not always updated. So sometimes you're looking at a property and there's a house on it, and really the house is not there anymore. So that's just something to just remember if you're doing this virtually. Agent outreach. So this is just simply building relationships with agents and brokers in your market that you're going to be targeting. A lot of times they will come across distressed properties, exactly what we're looking for, but they don't want to list them because it doesn't look so good. So a lot of times realtors will already have flippers or builders or somebody in mind, and they will just call them directly and say, hey, so and so called me, they want to sell this property, but it's pretty distressed and obviously we don't want to list it. Would you be interested in purchasing it? So you need to start developing these relationships so then they call you. Essentially, it'll come to a point where if you're building a lot of relationships, say you're talking to 50 agents a day, I mean, you could have countless leads for free every single month. But this is solely based on relationships. So if you're a person who loves to talk and network and just you want to do it that way, this is a great route to go then for you. And a great way too as well, if you ever need help, you're already with realtors, they can guide and direct you if you need help with comps or anything like that. How to comp properties. So a lot of people get tripped up right here. And I just want you to remember, all we're doing here is we're trying to see what our property is worth in its current condition, maybe in its worst condition, or in its remodeled condition. So one of the best things though to come across is not so much what you'll hear a lot of people say, go try and find the property when it's remodeled and then, reverse engineer it with the formula. But if you can actually find the property that's the exact same in the current condition that recently just sold, that's probably the best comp, because now you're going to know exactly what someone's willing to pay for it and you just need to get it below it. But I listed out 7 steps that we take in my company to come up with what this property is worth. And then once we get this number, we're able to come up with our offer. So number one is the location of the property. If the property is located in a neighborhood, you should never leave that neighborhood. So you need to stick within the neighborhood. And the next thing is going to be, I just want to state for the location, if you have a property that's not in a neighborhood, that's going to happen a lot. Say it's on a main road. You want to stick on that main road. Now, you can do a radius, of course, of I would start with a quarter mile, then work my way to half mile, then mile, if you have to really go that far. You should really, though, try and stick within the neighborhood or a quarter mile up to a half mile. If you have to go to a mile, that's fine, but you should really try to stick below. And number two is going to be the timeline. So, how recently did this property just sell that we're looking at? You should always start with 3 months, which is 90 days, and then 6 months, which is 180 days, and then 1 year. Step three, now the age of the property when it was built. So if it was built in 1950, you should only be looking at homes that were built in 1935 to 1965, 15 years above and 15 years under. Same thing with the size, but percentage. So what if the home is 1,000 square feet? You should be looking at homes that are 15% of that size, 150, above or below. Another way, though, you can go by is 250 square feet plus or minus. You can do either or. I kind of like the 250 a little better than the 15%, but we do use both. Number five, floor plan. Obviously, you need to find the house that is the exact same match. So if it's a house that's, say the house is stucco, but you're looking at this house that's fully brick, that's not going to work because it's different material. So you need to be matching it with the same type of house. If it comes down to it that you cannot find a property that's sold, and this is the only one, this stucco house or this brick house within years, you then need to start accommodating certain things and, trying to do it that way. Number six is going to be the condition. Obviously, we want to know how much will it cost to remodel the whole property, right? So now we're kind of getting into our numbers to come up with our offer. But we obviously do need to know this, and we can do this by doing quick estimates ourselves, which is just rough numbers where we are, very close to it, but not going to be spot on as if a contractor went there and saw it himself. Which is always good if you have those connections to send someone out there. Step seven is now the ARV. What will it now be worth if we do remodel it? What can we sell it for, right? And then once I get that number, then we're able to do our formula minus the repairs minus our assignment fee, and that gives us a max allowable offer. So that's how you comp. Also, there are so many YouTube videos, and there's a guy out there named Jamal, and you should watch his comping video. He goes by the exact same thing I'm saying here. One more thing to add in is never to cross over major intersections. So if the property, um, say the property's in not a neighborhood, but a bunch of streets, but it's like a triangle, right? And what's separating it is major roads. Don't cross those roads. Never cross over the roads because that's a whole different neighborhood and it's going to be different market in a sense. So just remember that. Um, but this is going to be something that everybody is going to say, hey, I think I'm struggling with it. I just want to say again, there is never going to be an exact answer to what a property is worth because it's if there's someone in the world who will pay $1 million for this property, then it's worth $1 million, which is really true though, because something is worth what someone is willing to pay for it. So it'll come with practice. So one of the best things too you can do is start putting in addresses and start practicing, and then show them to me or somebody else who's been in the industry for a while and can look it over and see if you're doing this right or not. So the more research you do on comping, I really do suggest really try to get this the best that you can, because the better you are at comping, the better the offers that you're able to submit and you're going to be confident. All right, so we're going to talk about the renovation cost. So once we see the property, we're able to get the photos or we saw it in person. And we're obviously you could pay a contractor to go by. I don't do that though. We kind of can do some quick research in that market, see what material cost is, and just do rough numbers. Sometimes when we're moving really quickly and we have so much going on, we will just go off these numbers right here. And just so everyone knows, and you should kind of go off this as well when you're talking to these sellers and they say, hey, it needs a new roof, foundation, HVAC, or even like, hey, the whole utilities have to be redone, such as the plumbing and the electrical. Those things are going to be considered big ticket items, and each of them are going to roughly be around $10,000. Roofs can be more than that. And so could all of it be more than that depending on the size, but that's typically what it's going to be with the homes sticking in the ranges of 150 to 250. This is kind of what we're looking at. When you go above those, home sizes than those, then yeah, things start to get more expensive. So when the seller says, hey, it just needs some paint, maybe just some carpet, and that's it, that would be considered a light remodel. And that's actually what this is supposed to say, the first one, which is $12 to $20. So if it needs a light remodel, and literally just like paint, some pressure wash, cleaning up, things like that, like it's basically turnkey. It just needs some love to it. Use the number 12 to 20 per square foot, and that should be your repair cost. Now, if it's going to be a medium remodel, now it's not going to be a full, we got to gut everything down, which means literally pull the walls down to where the wood is, the 2x4s. So this is going to be in between. This is going to be, hey, we need to do a kitchen remodel. We got to do the bathrooms. It's going to get pricey. Um, that's when you're going to use the medium remodel cost, and you can just times that by the whole square footage of the house, and that's going to be, you can use that as repair cost. Now, if it's a heavy remodel, everything has to get redone, but it has good bones, and that means that the structure is still solid, but walls have to be done, the roof has to be done again. Hopefully, the foundation is solid, and yeah, so $40 or $50 is gonna be the square footage that you're gonna want to use. And now you should, if you're doing this nationwide, take into account that what's going on in Georgia, the cost over here versus what's going on in San Diego, California. It's going to be completely different labor costs and material costs. You have to take that into account. Um, Best thing to do too as well is to ask people in your market, hey, just curious, I'm trying to see what this would cost me. And start hearing back from people what they're paying in that area, because every area is different. All right, so we're going to talk about the renovation cost. So once we see the property, we're able to get the photos or we saw it in person. And we're obviously, you could pay a contractor to go by. I don't do that though. We kind of can do some quick research in that market, see what material cost is, and just do rough numbers. Sometimes when we're moving really quickly, we have so much going on, we will just go off these numbers right here. And just so everyone knows, and you should kind of go off this as well when you're talking to these sellers and they say, hey, it needs a new roof, foundation, HVAC, or even like, hey, the whole utilities have to be redone, such as the plumbing and the electrical. Those things are going to be considered big ticket items, and each of them are going to roughly be around $10,000. Roofs can be more than that. And so could all of it be more than that depending on the size, but that's typically what it's going to be with the homes sticking in the ranges of 150 to 250. This is kind of what we're looking at. When you go above those, home sizes than those, then yeah, things start to get more expensive. So when the seller says, hey, it just needs some paint, maybe just some carpet, and that's it, that would be considered a light remodel. And that's actually what this is supposed to say, the first one, which is $12 to $20. So if it needs a light remodel, and literally just like paint, some pressure wash, cleaning up, things like that, like it's basically turnkey. It just needs some love to it. Use the number 12 to 20 per square foot, and that should be your repair cost. Now, if it's going to be a medium remodel, now it's not going to be a full, we got to gut everything down, which means literally pull the walls down to where the wood is, the 2x4s. So this is going to be in between. This is going to be, hey, we need to do a kitchen remodel. We got to do the bathrooms. It's going to get pricey. Um, that's when you're going to use the medium remodel cost, and you can just times that by the whole square footage of the house, and that's going to be, you can use that as repair cost. Now, if it's a heavy remodel, everything has to get redone, but it has good bones, and that means that the structure is still solid, but walls have to be done, the roof has to be done again. Hopefully, the foundation is solid, and yeah, so $40 or $50 is gonna be the square footage that you're gonna want to use. And now you should, if you're doing this nationwide, take into account that what's going on in Georgia, the cost over here versus what's going on in San Diego, California. It's going to be completely different labor costs and material costs. You have to take that into account. Um, Best thing to do too as well is to ask people in your market, hey, just curious, I'm trying to see what this would cost me. And start hearing back from people what they're paying in that area, because every area is different. Here is the max allowable offer formula. So ultimately what it is we're going to get the after repair value, and we're going to times it by a certain percentage, determining the after repair value of what it's priced at. And then we're going to minus the repairs that are needed on that property, and then minus our assignment fee. And that is going to give us our max allowable offer for that property. So if a property is under 150,000, you want to take 150, say the property is, 150,000 flat. You're going to want to times that by 70%, minus the repairs and minus your assignment fee. And that's the number that you need to be at. Now, if it's above 150 but below 250, you should be using the 80% rule. Now, sometimes you can drop to 75 if it's like 150 to 200 and use that. And then anything above, go for 80. And then anything above 250,000, you always want to use the 90% rule. And that is all you need to do when coming up with the formula. Now, when you estimate your repairs, we'll go over that, even if you do not know anything about construction. So just for an example, if there was a property, it's valued at 100,000 after it's remodeled, we're going to apply the 70% rule. So we're going to get 70,000 minus the repairs of 20,000, which comes to 50,000. And now minus your assignment fee, say you want to make 20,000. So ultimately, you need to get this property at $30,000 so that you can sell it to the buyer for 50,000. And then he can put 20 in and he's able to make $30,000 profit. The 1% rule. So the 1% rule is just a quick measurement to see if a property is producing at a certain percentage. So what it is, if there is a property and say it's $100,000, that's the asking price, and it's generating $1,000 a month, that would meet the 1% rule, and ultimately an investor would like to purchase that. So when you're looking at properties and they have renters in place and you ask what it's renting for, you want it to be at least 1% of the purchase price a month. So it's a quick measurement to go by. And ultimately you would know, for an example, say a property is in good condition and the guy wants 100,000 and it's renting for 1,000 a month. So we know an investor will purchase it then at 100,000. So we need to get it below it and sell it for 100,000. So it's a great measurement, and you're going to hear it a lot. And a lot of people do use it. Now, there's obviously other measurements that come into place that investors want to use, such as, cash on cash returns, things like that. But it's a great measurement, definitely to use when you're moving quick. All right, so the 4 pillars. So we're going to use these pillars when we are pre-qualifying our sellers, right? So when we first talk to them, we're going to always want to hit them with the 4 pillars, and we're going to go over them and we're going to go over why. So first one's going to be the motivation. What's the reason the seller is wanting to sell? This is so important because this gives us leverage when we're negotiating with them later on. It also helps to know what is their problem, what's their pain point. A lot of these people have a lot of pain going on, and that's the whole reason why they're willing to sell their property so cheap to you. So knowing the motivation is crucial. And a lot of people tend to skip and just go straight to 3 and 4, which is condition and price. So number one, motivation, highly important. It's actually one of the first things we ask when speaking with a property owner. Number two is the timeline. And just so you know, all of these are in order as to how I ask. Number two is the timeline. When are you willing to sell? Like, are you ready today to sell if we signed an agreement? Or do you need, 2 months to go and find a new place to move to? Are you not looking to sell right now? So you need to determine that. And if they're not ready right now, then there's no point putting all your energy into this lead, and it should just be a follow up. If it's not going to be anytime within 30 days or less, to me, that's not a hot lead. So if it's 30 days or less, it's a hot lead. If not, I mean, sometimes I'll push it to 60 days if I really know that the deal is going to work. But other than that, it's more of a warm lead and we'll follow up with them. So number three is the condition. We have to know what the property condition is like. And by knowing this, this is what helps us come up with our offer so we can present them. So without knowing that, we can't do anything. It would just be a blind offer. So we have to know the condition, and that's one of the reasons why we ask for photos or tell them, well, in our script as a company approach, we actually set seller expectations. So we let them know that, hey, we're not there in person, so we're gonna need photos, or we're gonna send someone there to get the photos. And that's how we're able to look at the condition. And then that's gonna determine our repair cost. Number four now is the price, and this is very important. So you are going to fight with the owners on getting the price out of them, but it's your job to pry it from them and to not give them an offer without them telling you what they want for that property. And this is going to be one of the biggest issues as well. I see this in comping, because sellers, a lot of people know, hey, if I give an offer first, I lose. So because the guy's just going to go lower. Remember that sometimes you need to ask the question multiple times and in different ways. So there's many times I go, all right, so after you're telling me about the property, what do you think the property is worth? What would you like to walk away with? And they dodge the question, go around it, and I typically say to them, well, just hear me out. If I say I'm going to pay cash and no BS, I'm going to follow through. Just give me a number. And if it says it no again, then I add on, well, what if I even pay the closing cost? I'm going to do this, that. They tend then to just say something. And that's a great starting point. So always getting the 4 pillars, that now it's considered a lead. So I make my guys get all of these before I even look at it. Now, sometimes there's going to be where you can't get the price and you're just going to have to do the best. But I push it on my guys that they have to get this. So otherwise, I don't even want to look at the lead. And if the person's not willing really to give you the information, are they really serious about selling then? So highly, highly important. These are your 4 pillars, and this is what's going to pre-qualify all your leads.
All right, so we're going to go over the script, and this is the script that I use in my business. Understand that the first way that we approach them, obviously the terms on how the lead came in. So you can see that I have 1, 2, 3 PPC, cold call, and SMS. So if it comes in that way, this is how we approach them. So initially it would start off as, hey seller, this is Tyler with Hawkins Investment Strategy. How are you today? right? Then I would go into one of those 1, 2, 3, such as we got your request for a cash offer on 123 Main Street, and I just wanted to run through a few details about the property. Also, did you have a time frame in mind on when you were looking to sell? So right there, I just asked two questions. Well, actually not asked. I'm telling them I want to run through a few details and when's your time frame on selling. So I'm already hitting a pillar. The next one's another pillar. Okay, we should be able to make that work. What's got you interested in selling? Now we're at their motivation. I mean, this is where we need to use this as leverage, right? When we're negotiating, we're going to find out their issues and how we can solve them. So yeah, we want to know if they're moving, job location, relocation, whatever it is. And your tone of voice needs to be positive and up and be happy, sound good, where the person goes, this guy makes me feel good when I talk to him. So the next thing is very important. It's setting now the seller's expectations. And what we say is, well, our process is very simple. After we discuss the property, I'll meet with our underwriters, and they'll let me know exactly what the property qualifies for. So notice right there, I said qualifies and underwriter. So when it's time to negotiate, I can blame, offers on the underwriter and say, listen, let me go back there and fight with them. You can say things like that and lean on them. Now I'm saying property qualifies because later on I'm going to teach you guys other strategies, right? And it's not always going to qualify for a cash offer, and it could be a novation, and we do a lot of those, and that's why I state that. It could also be seller financing terms, but we'll get into that later on. So seller, if we look into your property today and come to an agreement on a fair price, is this something you're definitely ready to sell? So I'm just reassuring that she's ready to sell it today. Good to hear. So how long have you owned the property, and is this your primary residence or just an extra property you have? Now, you want to make sure that there's access to the property. If there is a renter in place, you need to make sure that when you guys send someone out there to get photos, you can get in there. If it's vacant, we want to know, how can we get in there? Can we get a lockbox on the property? Like, could I send someone out there to do that? Which I would ask my photographer to stop by Home Depot and grab a lockbox, or we'd send them one and just, throw it on there. So once we, determine that helps us. We definitely need to know that. So good to hear. So how long have you owned the property, and is this your primary residence or just an extra property you have? Just to verify what I'm seeing online, it's a 2-bed, 1-bath, 1,000 square feet. Is that correct? You want to reassure all that because not everything online is correct. So now we're going to jump right into the condition. We're going to start with big ticket items. So we'll start with the big ticket items our underwriters typically ask about. Do you know when the roof was last replaced? Number one, is the electrical in perfect working order, or have you had any issues now or in the past? Do you know if there has been any updates previously? So when I say these, I try to actually, I know these are 2 questions, and I say them in 1 sentence. So I try to, slide it in, try to get multiple questions in. And then I just simply go down the list and gather all the information. So is the plumbing in perfect working order, or have you had any issues? Do you know if there have been any updates previously? Number 3, have you noticed any cracking or settling in the foundation? Do you know if there have ever been any previous repairs? Number 4, does the property have central heating and air? If so, do you know the age of those units? Number 5, great, thank you for the information. Now jumping into some of the smaller but more expensive items like kitchens and bath. Has the kitchen been updated recently? And then you need to find out, obviously, if it has and when. Same thing with the bathrooms, which is number 7. Have the bathrooms been updated recently? Find out what has and hasn't been done, have those been updated at all recently? I'm just kind of asking again. Number 8, what type of flooring do you have throughout the house? So we do want to know that. We obviously want to know about the condition. Number 9, have the windows ever been replaced? So just know these things can be, $10,000 each. And we talked about that in a previous slide. 10, lastly, would you say the house needs to be painted on the interior, exterior? And then is there anything else you can think of that may need repairs or updates? And then if they're in a neighborhood, I ask if they have HOA or homeowners association. Now, right here in the red, you're going to see number 2, why. So I'm asking why they're interested in selling. Now, I say this at the end if they skip the question and they're being around the bush. So I say, great, thank you for this information. So seller, did you all need any relocation services, or do you already have a good idea on where you're moving? Even if he's not moving, I'll still say it because then he'll correct me and he'll tell me. Next would be a follow-up question if you can apply it, and you're going to reference their timeline and when they're selling. So how long have you been thinking or dealing with all of this? I typically say thinking or dealing with this issue, and it just brings it up again that this is an issue, and I'm sure the person has been thinking about it for some time, and it's just bringing it up, thinking, it's time. So number 3, roadblocks. Good deal. So the numbers are actually the easiest part. Let's go ahead and assume you like our offer, you're 100% happy, and you decide to move forward. What is the next thing you will have to figure out? So we're just making sure that, we submit the offer, we're good to go. This guy's not going to say, well, I want to shop it out and do that. And we're not going to go for that. So that's why we're asking. Is there anyone that would be upset that you didn't at least run this by them before making a decision, which in other words would be their wife or husband, another decision maker? So before submitting an offer, you always want to make sure they're both on the phone, or if you're there in person, they're both there. So number 4, money. Based on everything you told me, what do you feel is a fair price for the property? So when they don't answer you, you hit them again with, well, if we can cover all the closing costs, fees, and commissions, all that for you, and we could get this done today, what do you think is the best price you can do? So asking again, and we want them to say the price. We don't want to say it. Number 5 is set expectations, right? So now, okay, I believe I have all the information I need right now. I'm going to get all of this sent to our underwriter to see what the property qualifies for. It shouldn't take too long and to get some numbers together. What time will you be available for a quick call to review everything today? And then you need to, just like I said, make sure that the decision makers are all there, and to make sure that they're not going to shop your offer out, and you don't send them an agreement if they're not willing to sign today, because what they'll end up doing is printing it and just shopping it around and telling everyone, oh, we have this offer, they're going to buy it. We've had it happen many times. And then just at the bottom, it just says, great, before I let you go, do you have any other questions for me? So this script is the acquisition script, and in here, you're hitting all the pillars and you're going deep dive into the property. With all this information, you can now really comp the property, your renovation costs, you do your formula to come up with the max allowable offer and submit it. I have another script on how to submit your offer when you give them the call back. A lot of times now, we actually will put them on a hold. We try to do this. We'll put them on a hold, try to look at comps while we're even getting all this information, and have an offer ready. So we'll say, hold on one second, and we already know what number, and we'll hit them right there and then if they're ready to go. And we call it one call, one close. Because a lot of times you got to remember, right here we're leaving them, we're hanging up. So we're leaving them. There's a chance they never pick up that phone again. So we need to make sure that we have a positive impact on them when we leave, and we have a solid script for the offer when it's time, when we give them the second call back. So we'll go over the second script that is for the offer. All right, so here's the offer script. So this is the exact one that we use. We used to not really go too much by scripts, but since scaling, you have to do it because it's just so much easier hiring, bringing people on, and having everyone, be on the same page. Another thing to also know with these scripts, they're not meant to literally read word for word. It's just a starting point, and then for you to add your own words to them. And it's going to sound the best once you do that. But first, just read it word by word until you're good at it, and then you can add your own stuff into it. So here's our offer script, and this is what I make our guys say when they submit their offer. Hey seller, this is Tyler. Do you have 5 minutes for a quick conversation? Great. So I spoke with the underwriters and they let me know what the property qualifies for. But before we talk about that, we would like to talk with you about what it looks like if you do decide to work with us. Is that okay? At the end of our conversation, all I ask for is a confident yes or no. And if you decide you do not want to work with us, that's perfectly fine too. First, I would let you know what the offer is. If you decide that you would like to move forward, then I would send over a written offer to your email. I wouldn't send, just so you know, real quick, guys, not a written offer. It would be an agreement to your email, and we would both go through that together. It generally states about 5 minutes. Once I get an autograph on the written offer, we will have you send us photos just to confirm the condition. After that, Karen, our transaction coordinator, will be in contact and will put you in touch with the title company. After title clears, closing will be scheduled. Do you have any questions? And then perfect. So about that offer, I just remind them of their pain and how we're going to solve it for them. Also, as I said before, you do not have to pay closing costs. You do not pay any realtor commission. The property will be sold as is, which means you do no repairs and you do no cleaning. You will also be able to move on your timeline. With that being said, your property qualifies for $100,000, right? After I say that, I say, is that something that we can move forward with? If so, are you next to your computer? I want you guys to know, though, I am stating when I'm talking to them. I tell them that I'm going to send, let me just find it so I can highlight it for you. A written offer. Okay. I say written offer, but it's really an agreement. The reason you want to say that is because there's certain words that sometimes scare property owners. The word contract, that's one. That we never say contract. We'll say agreement. We can say contract after they sign it because then it doesn't matter. But at first we go with written offer, so it sounds like a letter of intent. And we also will say agreement. So we'll send it over, ask if they're next to their computer, and we'll just literally have them open it up. We'll read it with them if they would like. If not, we'll just sit on the call on hold, and we'll try and push them to sign it right there and then. And explain to them that, hey, the title, we've had so many issues where there's clouded titles, and that takes, up to 2 to 3 weeks just to get back. We'd love to just get this going today, so at least we'll know that it's not clouded. So that's another way that we kind of push them to close it. But stick with this script right here, and then add your own onto it. But just remember, it's great at first. But word for word, sometimes it will sound robotic. That's just, again, why you need to add your own twist to it. All right, so we're going to go over seller objections, and these are going to be ones that you come across. Now, this is just a script that I made for you guys. Understand that I have my own kind of sayings and twists that I use. definitely go off the script and then kind of add your own thing on once you get it down. So we'll start with price, and this is like when we're offering the price to the sellers, and let's say that they're not liking it. So say that so the objection is, how did you get to that price? That would be the owner saying that. We would say something like, at Hawkins Investment Strategy, we use a formula which is based off price per square foot and the condition of the property. We then are able to determine a price range that is necessary to make this deal work for us. We purchase 15 to 20 properties monthly, typically always sight unseen. As long as the numbers work with our formula and on our end, we are able to make this deal work. And we are 100% confident in closing it. So as you see, I kind of say it a little differently, just add my own words in that makes it just sound more natural. And you guys should do the same. All right, so now the next objection. I'm sorry, but that offer price is too low. I really need to make this amount. We would say something like, well, seller, we are an investment company and we don't pay above market value. We always tell them above market value to let them know, like, you guys are being crazy. However, we do cover all the closing costs and fees that add up very quickly. To make this deal work, we need to be at this number. Now, considering this, what's the best price that you would move forward at today? So now if they reject your offer, but you're still interested. So this is what you're going to say. And yes, you're going to make it sound like you're walking away. And a lot of times this works. So, well, we're not the right fit. But if you're willing to consider selling, what would be that price you are wanting to sell at? Another thing, once they tell you that price, you would then state, I think that's a great price on the open market, right? I'm referring to the MLS. But for a cash offer, our numbers are too far apart. Listing might get you that price, but you do have to remember that you're going to pay closing costs and agent fees, and all of that truly is going to add up. And it's going to take probably about 90 days to close it, if you even find a buyer at that price. So we'd say something like that to them. Understand, though, in my business, we do multiple strategies. So technically, if they wanted their price too high, I would have gone with, see if they would seller finance it. Could we do a novation agreement? If there's a mortgage on it, could I take that over, pay their equity out? So there's other strategies. We don't say this, obviously, because of the other strategies, but this is what you guys should say. But this works. When you start to look like you're walking away, they come running back. It's kind of like, I'm sure you've heard, like at car dealers, when you negotiate, they'll tell you, just tell them no and start walking out the door, and they'll be running after you. And that does happen a lot. And a lot of times sellers are liars, and same with buyers. So you got to remember that. All right, now we're at price. Now we're at value. So here's one you're going to hear a lot. Well, according to the tax appraisal website, it says my property's worth this, and so does Zillow. Our answer to that would be, that price makes sense on the open market, referring again to the MLS. However, as an investment company, we can't pay above market value, right? Assuring them that it's over market value, number one, and it might work on the MLS, right? Listing on the open market could take you 30, 90 days and involve additional cost. We need to be at this price for a cash offer to be able to close quickly, because a lot of these sellers are looking to close ASAP, and they don't have 90 days to wait. So if they want both top dollar and a quick sale, we would say to them, well, unfortunately, getting top dollar and a quick sale is a really rare combination for us. Listing might get you the highest price, but if you need a quick sale, we can help with that. Although we need to be at the price that works for both of us. And that just, you're just letting them know that we're not going to be the ones to give you both. All right, so it's either or. A lot of times people will do the deal, or they'll do the decision and walk away if they do have time to wait. All right, so now we're going to objection of skeptical. So How can you make an offer without seeing the property? So we get this a lot, especially being nationwide. Traditionally, probably not, because you can just tell them that you drove by, even if you didn't. And if you know the area, you can call things out like, oh yeah, I saw it. I was around the corner by the McDonald's by your house. So things like that. So what we say, because we do it virtually, well, we purchase many properties, and we actually purchase in your area and very heavily. And we actually am very familiar already with your neighborhood. With based on your description and with our pricing and formulas with our underwriters, we can determine an offer without seeing the property in person. We will eventually schedule one of our teammates to visit the property, but we always ask for a commitment before we even schedule anyone to visit the property, because in the past we used to do this, and then it came to a point when we realized how costly it had become by visiting all these homes, and these sellers weren't interested. So by getting about 100 requests a week, it's just impossible, too costly for us to visit every property. So we ask for a commitment before we send one of our guys out to the property. So that's a great way to get them to sign the agreement as well, right? All right, so another one. I need to talk to my spouse before making a decision. Of course, take your time. When would be a good time for me to follow back up and check in after you had a chance to discuss it? And then if they say they'll call you back next week, you could say, I don't want to waste your time or mine. What would be the deciding factor between now and next week? Now you're being straightforward with them. You're being blunt. You're saying, listen, I'm serious. I'm not here to waste time, right? And you're putting pressure on them. Sometimes it's good to put pressure on them, definitely, because it's going to make them make a decision. And sometimes saying these things might feel a little uncomfortable at first if you've never been in sales. You got to break through it. The more you do it, the better you will become. So, objection, unmotivated. So, I'm in no rush. I need time to think about it. We would say, this is an important decision. I completely understand. Is there any specific information I can provide to you right now that would help make your decision? And then if they still want to think it over, what would be the deciding factor between today and next week? So kind of just like we said above, we're being straightforward with them. Just today or next week, what is holding you up? We want to know that, because obviously that's going to help us when we figure it out. If they still seem uninterested, we would just state, it sounds like you might not be ready to sell at this time. If you change your mind, I'd be happy to assist, and then move on. A lot of times you move on, and then you follow back up later on. They're interested, or they might call you later that day and say, no, we really want to do it. All right, now we're going to move on to rental. So let's say the seller says, I'm considering renting the property instead of selling it. And this recently actually just happened. So what prompted you to consider renting rather than selling, and what would be the deciding factor for you between selling and renting? Kind of want to know why this person's deciding that. Now, if they prefer to keep it as a rental, we would say, if we cover all closing costs and fees, would you still prefer to keep it as a rental? With that said, too, guys, also take into account, like I said, we use multiple strategies. So there are a lot of things in here that we would go different routes, and I definitely want to get you guys to it. But first, you need to learn just how to wholesale. All right, so now repairs. I would rather fix up the property myself to make a profit. So you're going to hear that a lot. A lot of people will be like, well, I can just do it myself and then list it, like as if they're contractors. So we always typically say, you can certainly do that, but it will involve repairs, closing costs, fees, and commissions. I typically go deeper into repairs. If you sell to us as is, we'll cover all those costs and handle the property without any repairs needed from you. Are you looking for top dollar or a quick hassle-free sale, excuse me. Next would be the objection, the listing. I'm going to try listing it with an agent again. This happens very frequently. Listing is an option, but it might take several months and involve various costs and potential issues. As an investment company, we need to be at this price that works for both of us. We're here to assist if you decide to sell. So you're just letting them know that, hey, we're still here. I push a little harder still and would say, and start just assuring them, the closing costs, the fees. What if the inspection doesn't go well and now the bank's asking for you to make repairs on the property before they'll fund it? I start bringing up all those things. And a lot of that just comes off the top of my head, to be honest. It's not really a script. I think of the situation of everything that's going on. So, objection of uncertainty. I might need to file for bankruptcy. So, I haven't heard this one, but we're just going to keep it in case we come across it. Why are you consider bankruptcy? If you owe blank on the property, we could buy it for around this price, which might help you avoid negative credit impact. Also take into account, guys, that we would try to take over the mortgage if they had a mortgage on the property, do things like that to try and help this guy. Another one, I have no place to go once I sell, very common one. We can work at your pace. If we agree on a price, we can help you find a new place before closing. Our team can assist in finding a suitable property for you, so you can actually get 2 deals on one guy. So now we're going to talk about urgency. I'm not ready yet. This is all happening too fast. This happens frequently, especially with elder sellers. So we'd say, I understand, we can move at your pace, whether it's today or a few months, there's no rush at all. So to me, in my head, if the agreement's signed and the date, our closing date's fine, I'm okay with that. And if there's a buyer in place too, it's perfect. Objection contract. So I'm not comfortable with some parts of the contract, and then we would say, well, what specific concerns do you have about it? Then why is there an inspection period? Well, the inspection period allows us to confirm that everything is as you described to me on the phone. It protects us if there are significant discrepancies. Once confirmed, we'll proceed as planned. Another one would be, why is earnest money deposit so low? So typically we only put $100. We say this is our company policy. We use the same earnest money amount for properties of all value. If you're not interested, I understand, but this is our standard practice. I also will go into reasons why it's low. Now, worst case scenario, if they're really making a big ordeal, I'll fix it and I'll put whatever earnest money they want. If you can't afford it, they have services that will do it for you. And just check out something called Gator Lending, and there's people that will lend you for earnest money. So next one, I want to use my own title company for closing or attorney. This happens a lot as well. We typically say we use our title company to leverage volume discounts and assure efficiency. If this does not work for you, I understand, but we really would like to close with our personal title company, and I can assure you it's going to be much more discounted. And we explained to them that we're a big company, maybe we have an agreement with these people or something like that. A lot of times, even if you go with their attorney, it is what it is. You can assign contracts, so it will still work, and we've done both ways. So these are just common objections. Definitely read them, try to remember them, and then come up with your own taste. And ultimately, too, if you're doing this locally, you'll have to change it a little bit so you don't come off as a business. But other than that, that's going to be the most common seller objections.
All right, so here we're going to talk about seller expectations, and these should be set at the beginning of the phone call. So if any issues arise later on, everything was already set up front, you were straightforward, and it's the professional way to go about it. So first, when I speak with the seller for the first time, I introduce myself. Hey, my name's Tyler. I'm with Hawkins Investment Strategy. I just want to let you know that we purchase properties nationwide. We purchase about 15 to 20 properties every month. And we are heavily purchasing in your market. So if they're in San Diego, I would say that That is our top market today. So we are heavily investing in San Diego. And I see that you have interest in selling your property. Then we'd start talking. Then I would say to her, well, I just want to let you know how this conversation would go. So now I'm going to set the whole expectation, and I'm going to say to her, so on this phone call, I'm just going to get some brief information from you. Once you tell me about the property, I'm then going to go sit with the underwriter in the back, and then we will have an offer to present you. So I can give you a call back or put you on hold if you can wait. And that's how we will do it. There's a few other things though that are set up front that if you're doing this virtually, you need to say it, such as you need to make sure that they know you are not in their area, and that at the end of this phone call, are you able to provide us any photos? Now, if not, no worries. We will have to figure that out. We typically can go on Craigslist, Facebook. You can find somebody like a photographer or even someone in a real estate group. If you pay them like $100 or $50, they'll run over to that property, get the photos for you. Another thing that we tell them up front is, again, we're not in your area, we're nationwide. I'm in Atlanta, you're in San Diego. Is there a way that you could hide a key for us and one of my guys could put a lockbox on the property? Now, what I would do is I would pay a guy to get me the photos, and I would give them, I think, like $30 extra to buy a lockbox at Home Depot and have the owner hide a key. He can put the key in the lockbox. He shoots me the code. He puts it on the property, and that's how I can show it if it was vacant. Now, if there's a renter in place, we'll just have to coordinate with the renters to see the inside. So being straightforward with them, letting them know that you're not in the area, it helps so much because then they understand. And some of them, yeah, I'll send you photos right away, and they'll start helping out more. When you lie to them and you say, hey, I'm a local guy, I live in your area, and you don't, they're going to say, all right, well, meet me at the property. I mean, that happens all the time. Meet me at the property. We have to explain to them that we're not actually there. So if you do that and they find out, they're gonna block your number. So make sure to set the expectations, be truthful up front. Um, yeah, and once you set that, everything should be clear. You shouldn't really have any issues, and if you do come across issues, it's easy to resolve them because everything was said. Just another few things real quick. When I do talk to them on the phone, I just reassure a few things. I say to them, seller, if we look into your property today and come to an agreement on a fair price, this is something you're definitely ready to sell. We say this to make sure that we're not wasting our time before we go deep into this conversation. And they say, no, I just want to know what it's worth. I'm not really looking to sell. All right. Once they confirm, yes, we're ready, I typically say, good to hear. So how long have you owned the property? And is this your primary residence or just an extra property you have? Also, would you be able to send photos after this call? Right. So I'm making sure that they know about the photos because in my head, I'm just thinking about photos because I can't sell the property or show it to anyone because everyone's going to ask that. I'm also asking, is this her primary residence? Even though I might already know it's not. And I'm basically trying to get her to tell me, is there a renter in place or is it vacant? And I'm trying to in my head figure out, is there access? Can I send people there? And then I just jump right into it. So just to verify what I'm seeing online, and I start saying that, and that's it. But when you set these expectations, your deal will go so much smoother. All right, so now we're in the disposition. So this is the time we need to sell the property. So what we're going to be going over is creating an advertisement. Now that we have the property under contract, earnest money turned in, the title search is going, it's time to create an advertisement, and we're going to email blast it, SMS blast it to our cash buyers. So that's number one we're going to go over. Then we're going to go over marketing the deal to the cash buyers once you get the ad made. Then scheduling viewings so they can get in and see the property. This is probably a question too, how are you going to do this if you're virtual, which we'll go over. And then obviously we're going to want to do an assignment of contract when they're ready to buy and confirm that they turned in their earnest money and then close the deal. So let's get started. So how to find cash buyers. So the ways that you can find cash buyers, I'm going to give you 7. Number one is using PropStream or BatchLeads. And within those platforms, you can literally pull up a county, city, state, and find every person who paid cash for a property, pull the list, skip trace the list, and call them all or text them, email blast them, whatever you're going to do to get buyers. It's an amazing way. That's how anybody, I mean, would do it if you're definitely doing this nationwide. Another way is Facebook groups by joining local Facebook groups like Houston, Texas, Atlanta, Georgia, and posting in these and getting buyers, asking for their information. Another way to find buyers is social media like Instagram. I use that a lot, and Facebook. Um, Fourth way to get cash buyers, Facebook Marketplace. So when you ever post deals, you're going to get tons of people messaging you. It's your job to vet them out. And we'll go over a script as to how to vet them out to know if they're serious people or not. You can There are people who do this. I'm not suggesting it, but ghost post, and you're posting a property that's such an amazing deal, and you're having your Facebook Messenger just blow up with messages, and you're just telling them, hey, send me your email and I'll send it to you. And really, you're just collecting emails and you're getting so many buyers on your list. So then when you get a deal again in that area, you'll send it out to them. I mean, it is a great way to get, I mean, buyers overnight. Um, but it's not professional way, and it's not the way that you should want to go about it. Number 5 would be like local real estate investment meetups. Those are amazing. You're going to be with people just like yourself, so an amazing place to find buyers and to find lenders as well. LinkedIn, so you can go search people's profiles, message them, and then just strictly networking in general. That's where you find your buyers. Just talking with people. So there's so many ways to find buyers. It's really not that difficult um, finding a buyer. Now, if you're in a rural area, that's when it tends to get difficult. Or if the property you're selling is overpriced, it's just not going to work then. But if it's a good deal and in a good market, you should never have a problem finding a buyer. How to qualify cash buyers, or in other words, investors. So this is how to determine whether this is a real cash buyer or just a guy that's wasting our time, or it could just be another wholesaler trying to daisy chain the deal. That happens very frequently. So number one, when they approach you, you can always ask them for proof of funds, to show if they have funds in their account to purchase the property, they're reaching out to you. Now, if you're just wanting to talk to the person and put them on your list, I don't necessarily ask them for proof of funds right away. I only ask them when they're approaching me about a deal. So, proof of funds when they're approaching you about a deal, that's how you can tell. Another way, which is mainly how we do it, is providing non-refundable earnest money. So we always tell our buyers $5,000 non-refundable earnest money, and you have 48 hours to get it turned into the law firm. And if the money's not turned in, then the contract's not valid. So that's a great way to determine whether your guy's serious or not, because the non-refundable earnest money doesn't is sticking regardless. Even if the guy says, hey, I just don't want it, it's not going to work anymore, you're keeping the 5,000. So ultimately a buyer would not put that money up if he's not serious about it. Number 3 is a reference. So you could ask him, let me talk to some of the real estate agents you worked with, property owners or other wholesalers, and talk to them and see if this person's legit. Number 4 is you could ask them for a list of properties that they currently own if they're telling you that, they're this big buyer. So those are 4 ways to know if it's a serious buyer or it's a waste of time. I would tell you guys all to make everyone do $5,000 fundable earnest money. And the best thing to say to them is, what does it matter? Because the 5,000 is going to go towards the purchase price when they close. So there shouldn't be an issue if the guy is serious about purchasing the property, because essentially he would be hindering your deal and you're not able to sell the property because it's tied up with this guy. So, with that said, those are the 4 ways that you can make sure that these people are legit. How to speak to cash buyers, or in other words, investors. So once we know that they're an investor, we obviously want to begin with saving their information, their name, their number, and their email, and preferred contact method. Obviously, now we want to know what type of properties are they buying, the areas, price range, what kind of strategies do they do, because then that will help us when we come across certain deals, that when we get a little bit more experience and we learn other strategies, we're able to identify, oh, this would be perfect if somebody wanted to do this type of strategy on the property. For an example, a BRRRR strategy. Um, so those questions are what have to be asked. You also need to ask them, how many properties are you buying a year? This is going to tell you, are they a big player or not? And are you actively buying? There's a lot of people that go on a buying spree, and then they go down and they stop buying because they're working on all the properties they just purchased. And then they come back up and purchase again. So you need to make sure that they're actively buying. And if they're not, ask them when they are again, and that will determine whether to, keep them on your buyers list or not. And then any additional details that they want to give you. But build great relationships with your investors and buyers. Speak to them weekly, talk to them, see how they're doing, because it's so easy when you build the relationships with these buyers. It's almost as if you can just work for, one guy. If he was a huge player and he bought everything, that could be your main guy you just sell to. And he'll tell you what he's looking for, and you'll always have someone on hand. So the better your relationships are with these people, the faster you can move deals and make money. They also to know that later on, when you get more experience and you want to start investing, these can become your lenders, and your partners in these deals. So speaking to cash buyers and vetting them by, making sure that they are active, highly important. Make sure to always ask them, and get all 9 of these questions answered when you speak to them, and keep them in your CRM or in your Excel sheet so everything's organized. And when you get a property in a certain area, you know exactly who to call, and you're just playing matchmaker at that point. So with that said, that's how you speak to them and input them into your system, essentially.
All right, guys, so I just want to go over how what our acquisition process looks like A to Z. And so if we're going to call or text, we're going to pull a list. We're going to pull inside PropStream or BatchLeads. Then we're going to have to skip trace that, which we use BatchLeads because they seem to have the best, the one who seems to be the most accurate. Next, we need to upload that into the dialer and the launch control, which is where we do the text blasting. I have 2 guys who are going to get on the dialer, 1 person who's going to be texting. Web form and Facebook, so these are going to be Google ads, so they don't even, the list does not apply because you don't pull a list for that. RE dialer is going to be for self-storage facilities. That's something I do, so you don't need to worry about that. So these guys will get leads, and then they'll send it in. The lead manager reviews it. They make sure that the 4 pillars have been answered, because if they're not, they need to call the person back and get those answers. Then I will look at it. So then when I look at it, I need to get photos. Maybe if we're doing it virtually, get boots on the ground out there, or hire a photographer, or have the seller send it. If I'm doing this traditionally, I'll go see the property and get the photos. Now, again, underwriting, you can kind of ignore that because that's really for self-storage again. But if there are cash flowing properties, you will have to underwrite at some point. Next would be due diligence. If maybe there's something that I'm just unsure on, I need to call the county about. I'll have to do some due diligence, and maybe they're not interested, so I'll put them on a follow-up, right? And then last but not least is submitting the offers. As you see, Tyler, I submit creative offers. I don't want my guys to send any subject to mortgage offers or seller financing, which kind of are advanced strategies. But my senior acquisitions, they have permission to send cash offers. Once that's sent, we send a purchase and sale agreement. We don't use DocuSign anymore. We use ReSimpli, which is our CRM. And then we submit the contract and earnest money to the attorney, and that is it. Next, we'll move on to the disposition side. So now we have the property under contract. We have the photos. We're going to review the information right here. I'm going to pull up PropStream. I'm also going to pull up BatchLeads, Zillow, and the GIS map for the county. So you can type in whatever county the property's in and type in GIS map, and it'll show a whole map of the county and tell you all about the property and give you the information. So we're going to relook at comps, and we have a template sheet that we check off just to make sure that the information is correct. Next, now we're actually going to create the template using Word and Canva for photos if we need to. So we'll list out all the basic information. I have a template I'll give to you guys, but it just has the property information and then like additional details about it, the asking price, all that good stuff. Say that you needed a picture of land, vacant land or something, and there's just no way you can get a photo of it. Well, what you could do is use Canva and Google Earth. You can do a street view, and then you screenshot that image. You use Canva, and you can use a magic eraser and start erasing where it says Google and all those things, and it will look like you're standing right there. So that's why I have Canva right there. Next is now that, say, the ad is ready to be sent out. It's got the photos in it, the property information. Now it's time to market to your investors. We're going to call, text, and email to the VIP buyers first. Then I'm going to send to the rest and to my private Facebook group. Lastly, I'm going to post on Facebook, not the marketplace yet. And then if I can't find anybody, we ultimately go to skip tracing investors. Obviously, looking at comps, a lot of times comps are your buyers, so we'll start reaching out. We'll text and call them. Then we'll go to Facebook Marketplace. And lastly, last result is reach out to other wholesalers. Once we find somebody, we typically set an appointment so the buyer can go view it. He sends the offer. We tell him the closing cost. we get all his information, send him the agreement. He sends in his earnest money, and then we coordinate to it closing. And we have a transaction coordinator, and really that person just works in our dispo. We just call them transaction coordinator when we need help with reaching out, getting the photos. Maybe the seller didn't send them, so that person reaches out. But the best thing that they do is they talk to everyone until it's closing, because a lot of times buyers and sellers have questions, and acquisitions, dispositions, just too busy to answer it. So that's what the coordinator's for. And they send weekly updates, and then boom, you're closed, 10,000 to 30 grand. That's typically what we see. So yeah, that's exactly how it all operates.
Softwares, chapter 6. So we're going to go over the softwares that I currently use, and then I'll tell you how I use them. So number one is PropStream, and we use that to analyze properties. It's basically just like Zillow, but on steroids, and you're able to pull lists such as vacant properties, absentee homes. The software actually does a lot of other things. You can actually send mail out through there. You can, I think, do email blasting. You can also get documents through them about the properties, and they also do skip tracing and a few other features. Number two is BatchLeads. That's going to be the exact same thing as PropStream, but on BatchLeads they do have a software that allows you to text message blast, which is what we used to use, but since the recent laws changed, we no longer use them because their numbers are used with a company called Twilio, and we just had big issues with them. So we only use them for the skip tracing. Now you'll see number 3 says batch skip tracing. The reason I have that listed there is just because they gave me an affiliate link that I'm going to give to you guys to get a discount when you do want to skip trace. But batch skip tracing is inside batchleads.io is what the website is called. Then you have Batch Dialer. Now this is a different website. It's owned by the same company. And Batch Dialer is a dialer, so you can get 3 lines, and you'll upload a list, and it'll just start calling 3 lines at once. It's a great tool to use, especially if you want to get going. I think you can start it with just $99 a month. What's cool about it is if you have batch leads and you're skip tracing on there, you can skip trace on there, and instead of having to export it and all that stuff, there's a button built in where it will just send the list to Batch Dialer automatically and just have it ready for a person to put a headset on and let the platform start dialing. And you're able to reach like 100+ people in an hour. I mean, it's and whoever picks up first is who it goes with. And if 2 people pick up at once, it'll call that person back. Now, number 5 is launch control. Now, I use this today because it's the best SMS platform for texting. So launch control also does have skip tracing inside of it, but we don't use it. We only strictly use it for texting. Number 6 is ReSimpli. Now, this is our CRM. Now, I love ReSimpli because this is where you stay organized. This is my database. This is where my buyers list is in, all my leads, the properties that are under contract. I used to use DocuSign, but now I can just use my CRM and send documents to get electronic signatures, and I use it daily. You can actually do direct mail through it, which is pretty cool. Especially when you can't contact you cannot get in contact with them on the phone or through text. It's awesome to be able to just click a button and it will automatically grab their name and address that's in our system and just send it immediately. So it's really cool tool. You can also SMS blast out of it. You can email blast. It gives you web forms that buyers can fill out and sellers, so it just goes into your system. It's not something you need immediately if you don't have any money right now, but definitely get yourself a CRM. Now there are other CRMs to look at, but I also I have a link just so everyone knows to all of this that are all discount links. So you'll be able to get discounts if you choose to use these softwares, but feel free to check them all out and ask me any questions because I've used so many softwares, but these are the essential ones that I currently use.
All right, so I want to go over the CRM that I use, ReSimpli. So when you first log on, this is the dashboard, and it's just going to give you an indicator as to where you are with all your leads, your tasks. Do you have any open messages, things like that. It'll give you some KPIs as well. It actually has a page just dedicated for KPIs, which stand for key performing indicators. Now, I don't use it on here, so I actually don't have it. But you could keep up with like how many calls does it take to get a deal, things like that. I use an Excel sheet that I make my guys fill out every day, and then we add it up at the end of the week, and that's how we punch it in, and then we look at it on a quarterly basis. But you could upgrade and get that. Now, it does do things such as you can save lists in here, and you can do something called list stacking. So like you would be able to say you put a list in that said vacant properties, and then next week you do something, a list of liens. You can then list stack. And what that means is if you upload a list in here, you can then pull the list and say, I want properties that are vacant and have liens. and then it'll find the ones that have liens and vacant, and that's called list stacking, and you can keep doing that. And this is just a way where you can store your list. But I keep my list inside BatchLeads with all my other lists. I don't move those over. There's really no need to. I believe, yeah, inside ReSimpli you can also do skip tracing. I believe you can. But again, we don't use that. Right here is direct mail. We don't always use this, only when we can't get in touch with somebody, but how it works is, some reason the pricing isn't coming up, but it's actually giving you like yellow letters. So it would be yellow, literally, or it could be a business letter. It could be written with pen, so it looks like someone actually really wrote it. So you would upload your list, and then the next screen is where you would design it, and that's where you show the photos. And what it can do is pretty cool. Is it can, if you put the address in, it'll automatically pull a Google image of the street view, and it'll put it on the postcard and send it to them and try to make it look like you were just standing in front of them, standing in front of the property. So that's something cool if you want to use the mailer. The dialer, I'm not sure if it's okay. It does work. So I've used this just a few times, but we use Batch Dialer. But actually, we use we do use Batch Dialer, but we use a third-party company now to do our cold calling. But from time to time, we will jump on our dialer. Now, some of these were put in here because they were like storage facilities. Now, I'll go after those. I don't want my team. I want them to focus on houses. So in here, you can upload a list, and this could be a dialer. And you could, I believe, click. See, I don't think I have it hooked up anymore. But you would be able to click, and then it's going to start calling James Allen. Right here, auto dialer or click to dial. Let's see if it works. So it'll just start calling, and then you would click next number, and then next property, and you would just click call. But we're gonna hang up. So let me just get rid of this real quick. So this can be used as a dialer as well. But you have to, I believe, pay for the feature. You can do a website. The website, I don't think it's any good. But what's cool is having web forms. So when you go to post buyers to go find them on Facebook and stuff, you can give them a link. And the link will be your buyer's form, so they can easily fill it out, click submit, and it comes straight into your buyer's contacts right here. So that's one cool thing, the web forms. All right, so here are your leads. Now we're at leads. Active lead, warm, dead, referred to agent, and then wholesale pipeline. Now these are going to be the ones under contract that we're wholesaling. All right, but we'll start right here, active leads. All right, so these are ones we're currently working. New leads, no contact, contact made, appointment set, due diligence, offer made, under contract, and then right here, wholesale pipeline. Once it's under contract, now we're in this stage, and as you see, these you can move these. So new contract. Now when we're now finished making the ad and we're ready to market it out, we now go to marketing to buyers. And it'll ask you questions such as like, how much are you asking for the property, things like that. Now, once you market it and you start showing it, then you move it to showing, and it'll ask you some other questions. One is the buyer scheduled, and then when they submit offers, when you're evaluating them, and then when you accept them, and then when the attorney says, hey, we're good to go, we're going to close tomorrow, we're clear to close right here. And then when it's finished, you'd click sold, and it will take it away from here. So we'll open up an active, let's see. Just going to see if we had any open ones, which I believe I saw them. Okay, so here's a new lead that came in. As you can see, it's their address right here. It also comes with, it'll do like a click for a Google view. So it'll just search it on Google that quick so you can see it. You can also click Zillow. It pulls the Zillow address up. You can also click Google Map View. It'll show you right away. You can then put the screen just like that and see the property. So that's the overview of the Google. And then if you want the street guide, instead of doing it the way I just did it, you would just click that. And there's the property. So it's really helpful. Down here is going to be the seller information contact. And you can edit all of this. Here it's going to populate. So it's pulling this. So you put an address in. And the system's so smart, it's going to go pull all this information. So you don't even have to put it in. Now, not all the time will it be accurate. I mean, I never even look at it, but I would always double check it all. Down here, now these are questions I put in, and you can edit all of them the way that you like. I can give you mine. But again, I don't even use this over here anymore. I make them right in here. And then I just click notes, and I can see what we all wrote to each other and everything that was saved. Used to try to do this, but it's I don't know. No one seemed to be able to follow directions. But down here, you can put questions, get them to fill it out. As you see, when I push it over from launch control, because they push a button, it'll send over the message. Here's part of it. The message is from launch control. And then here's just house questions. You know, you can fill in, have your guys fill it in. Up here, add tag. I always tag the properties as to like what they are. So like, is it a single family? Then I would click single family. The reason I do that is because later on, when you get so many leads, you're gonna wanna, someone's gonna call you, hey, I'm looking for this. Then you can go into your system, click tags, and type in single family, and then you can help your buyer and just call those single families. So tagging everything is so important. All right, so up here where it says new lead, this is how you would move it. Say if you've been calling them, can't get in contact, you can contact me, appointment set, due diligence, maybe you have to look further or call the county about the property. If you make an offer on it and then get it under contract, and then dead, warm, referred to agent, inventory sold. Over here, so it's asking your exit strategy. You guys should just be using right here wholesale assignment contract, because if you click something else, it doesn't always go to wholesale pipeline. So just click wholesale assignment contract. When we start learning about other things, you guys start getting experience, and obviously we'll start using those. But that's all you would put. And then now when it goes under contract, it'll go into this folder. Another thing you can do, right? So once you get the buyer, and it's in the wholesale side, it's going to say the dispo. So you put your buyer's information in here, and it's going to save it. And it's going to save it to your database of all buyers. You can save your offers, task, appointments that need to be made, any files on the property, you save them here. And then I love this part, the e-signature, because this is where the documents get sent out. Instead of having to pay for DocuSign now, I just use my CRM, and I can send purchase and sale agreements on just click of a button like this. I literally would just click action, send for e-sign. I already have these things, the agreements already ready to go. So it would be like this. I'm just going to just show you an example. Or I guess I can't. Anyway, after I click submit, the agreement comes up, and then it says put the holder here for wherever you're supposed to sign on the paper, and click send, and it sends an email for an electronic signature. Other thing it has is portfolio, so it's actually smart, and it's pulling other properties that the seller possibly owns. So it's able to read that. Team, it's just showing you who's working on this. Since this is a new lead, we haven't claimed it. Everything just comes up as my name until things are claimed. Calculator, I never use this, but it is there. Other things you can do too, if you just, like I was saying, I can't contact a person, let's just send them a quick direct mail. you just buy credits and you can send out mail. And this is where you would buy credits for everything. But if you're on a plan, as you see, you get so many minutes a month and text messages a month. Um, they have something called AI Call. It is super neat. I'm not paying for it right now, but I was using the free subscription, but I might end up getting it. When someone hangs up a phone, it's able to tell you the 4 pillars without having to listen to it, and it's crazy how it works. But again, I just don't trust it. I'd rather listen myself. So yeah, with that said, this is a great platform to use. Right here, just real quick, you can click your whiteboard just to see, hey, what deals do I have under contract? Things like that. Um, Obviously, the more information, like as you can see, we're not putting all information into these because we do use other files and systems that we save our KPIs in and stuff. And I'll also put that in a Google Drive that you guys will have access to. But if you did want to use this to keep up with everything, I mean, it can do that. And then if it's, say it becomes a warm lead, and you click warm, it'll drop to now into here, warm leads. Now these are all leads that, you know, you can have someone go call them, you know, if they're new. So you're not putting them on hot leads and they're messing up. At least they can mess up on some dead leads or warm leads. There are some dead ones, but you know, we'll eventually go back and reach out to them, refer to agents. But yeah, inventory. So this is if you're going to do, if you want to save properties that you own and you're flipping, you could put into here. Properties that you sold, rental properties, and then down here it's just going to have your logs, call logs, texting, those things. Let's click so you can see. Buyers, vendors. So your buyers list, right? This is going to be where you save buyers. And this is how you would save them. Their city, zip codes, contact type, property type, price range, and then the type of properties that they're looking for. So they put all this information in, and then when you do have a property to sell, you would go up here and say you have a single family house. Okay. So you have a single family house. I'm not going to go in deep with it, but as you see, the numbers change. So 229 people would be interested in that. Select all, and I would just click send bulk text to all of these people or send bulk email. Literally, if I want to send a text right now, I just click that, click OK. What phone number I want to use, a campaign name so I can remind myself what the message said. I write the message, click send, and it'll send it in seconds. And then you got to be prepared because people are going to start blowing you up on text messages. Same's to go for the email blasting. Let me see. See, we don't use the banking. These things you can hook up to it. You can really use this platform for everything. We started using it just a little while ago. We're still using Podio as well, but now I'm really trying to just get on ReSimpli. So in the next 2 weeks, we're going to fully just be using ReSimpli. So far we love it, and it's done so many things that we're able to get rid of, like DocuSign. I think I was paying like almost $200 for DocuSign. So this is, I think, $300, and it replaces that and does way more. So awesome tool, guys. I highly suggest it. have hooked up with ReSimpli as well, and I have a discount code that you guys will have access to. All right, so I wanted to show you the inside of BatchLeads, which I've been using to pull lists, and I'll pull statewide list. So I typically just use BatchLeads to skip trace, and I use it to pull lists just like I do with PropStream. So right here, you go to property search, and then just so you know, it does have other things such as the virtual driving. This is where it stores your list. Agent outreach, it has a program where you can reach out to agents, and skip tracing, texting. I don't suggest using them for texting, and then direct mail, which is pretty good. So it does a good bit of things. So let's pull a list. We'll go to Greenville, South Carolina, and let's pull a list of vacant properties. And this is a criteria you should write down and just stick by. So we'll go to filters. We'll go to quick filters. We'll go to property vacant. Now, if you wanted to do absentee owner, you'd click there. Add a state absentee owner, which is a pretty good list as well. I never do owner occupied. All right, so now we're just going to go down. I don't need to click anything else. I want to make sure it's just houses that we're looking at. So property characteristics, single family. It's going to populate other things, but those are going to populate houses, so just leave it. Another thing you can do is if you're looking for a certain bed bath type, you can plug that in. A lot of times with the year built, I like to always put 2000. I've never had a property that's newer, and it kind of gets rid of the newer properties. MLS, that's always no. We do not want anything on the MLS. Ownership, I leave it. I'll do both. If you're just starting out and you want kind of better results, I think just click an individual. Now, years, the furthest I go back is 5 years, right? And then I'll go, so 5 years, that's really it. I don't go 4 years or anything below that. Once that's done, that's really all I click. And now we are down to 175 properties. And all of these are vacant. It's what I'm looking for. And as you see, even though these homes are very nice, they're vacant. I don't go after the homes that are like super nice looking. I don't. I take them off the list. So what you can do is you can select all, and then you would just go through the ones that are like really nice looking. Because we kind of can tell, like, hey, it was just remodeled. These two homes could be, I don't know if that's some dirt or what, but I'm going to take this off. Those two could be something actually, though. But this looks completely remodeled, you know. So all the remodel homes, we don't want them, obviously, or home like that. Another thing, too, that I did not plug in here, that's probably why we're getting all those, is the estimated value, right? So remember, we really don't want to exceed 250. I'm just going to put 300 because there are a lot of homes in Greenville that are worth much more. And it probably give me better results now thinking about that because I saw $1 million property came up. All right. So, yeah, see those big bushes? Like, that's what we want. Ugly looking. These ones are kind of decent. These are great. I don't know. Can't really see. Looks good right there. So, like, those are the type of homes you want, right? You tell the grass. This just, I mean, this could just be like a touch up. So, yeah, so you would pull the list, select all, take out the ones you don't want, save right here. You would a list, so you would put Greenville vacant, click enter. All right, I don't know why that came up, but anyway, you'd click enter, and then right here you would click the skip trace part. I'm not going to do it though, but I'm just going to click next. Okay. And then this cost would come up. So it's charging me 9 cents per record, so it's $11.43. I don't have to pay right now because I have credits, but that's the cost that it would be. And then as soon as I click submit, I'm not buying this list, so I'm just going to show you. So then once we click submit, it would come here to the skip tracing, and it would populate right here. And it will tell you your cost. Say that you already had the number in your system, it won't charge you for it. It will tell you, hey, we found a match, and it's not going to charge you. Then when you're done, you would click over here, and that's what would export, as you can see right here, the skip trace list. So right here you have the okay, here's a list that was pulled. Last names, so property address. Here's the addresses. And now I'm going to show you the phone numbers because this is what we just paid for. So phone number 1, and it's going to give you as many numbers as you can find, I believe, or it goes up to like 10. So anyway, there's the number, there's another number, and then if you keep going back, there should be emails popping up if it can find them right here. So what you end up doing is you save this because this is the skip trace, and now you plug this into your dialer or into launch control to text message blast all these people. And that is it. That's how you pull a list and skip trace. Also, when you're pulling a list, we'll just pull another one. We'll do absentee owners, so it's a rental, right? We don't want it on the market. Remember, single family. We would just do the same thing. Say we only want individuals this time, and 10 years. We want them to own it longer because maybe they're really tired of it now. Estimated value, no more than $250. And there you go. This is in Kennesaw, Georgia. And that would be your list. And then you save it, remember, right here, and then skip trace, click next, and that is it. So that's how you pull a list. You need to just play around in here. And as you can see, when you click on things, you can find out all the information. The year it's built, the size, beds, bath. Right here is their name, the parcel number. Here it's going to show you the owner's name, their mailing address. If it were to be skip traced, it would be right here. You could also skip trace the single address just by clicking. You can also send them direct mail by just a click. Here's some more information about the property. Then we can go to comparables. Now we can see what other properties sold for in the area. And you would do that by following the comping guideline that we went over, plugging that into here, and then they will populate. And these are all the properties. If you go all the way over, it'll tell you the dates and when they sold. And right here are like pictures of properties. So it's a good total comp on for sure. And then once you get a number, you're able to make your offer. A few other things it does, gives you tax information. If it were to ever be on the MLS, it'll give you like the last information about it. Owner profile, it's going to show you other properties that this owner is linked to. And if there's ever been a foreclosure or lien or anything like that. Another thing sometimes that comes up is the legal description. You shouldn't really need that, but sometimes it comes up. It looks like it's not in this one. Right here is the sale, so you can see what they last bought it for. But essentially, so it's like a Zillow on steroids, but So that's how you pull a list, and that's how you use BatchLeads. It's very simple. All right, I'm going to show you how to pull a water shutoff list and also how to use AI to do it and to do it fast. So typically what you need to do is you reach out to a county that you're going after, but typically you got to go to the water department. They're going to direct you there. But sometimes it could be different. Every county I've come across is completely different. So it just depends. So what I would do is, let's say I just pulled it up right here, Greenville, South Carolina Water Department. All right, I want to write a letter to them to get the water shutoff list. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go look for their email. Another thing you can do is just do this. Just type an email, and a lot of times it pops right up. There you go. Engineering. Oh, that's the engineering department. That's not what we want. Greenville Water, contact us. Okay, this still works. So this is what we would do. Please write me a letter requesting the water shutoff list for Greenville, South Carolina. Um, please mention the Freedom of Information Act. So there's an act that's put in place where we, the people, have rights to see public information, and essentially this is public information. I'm going to put right here, professional letter requesting the water shut off. All right, and then it's going to write up a nice letter. Oh, one more thing. Okay, and I always add in this for research, just in case they want to know. So I hope this letter finds you well. I am writing to formally request access to the water shutoff list for Greenville, South Carolina. This request is made in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act, which provides the public with the rights to access information held by government agencies. As you see, it's pretty professional. The information is needed for research purposes. Specifically, I am seeking a comprehensive list of all water shutoffs that have occurred within the past, and then you would need to fill that in. This should include details such as address, dates of shutoff, and if available, the reason for shutoffs. Please let me know if there are any forms or fees required to process his request. I would appreciate it if you could provide the information in electronic format, if possible, to expedite the process. If you have any questions or need further information from my end to facilitate this request, please do not hesitate to contact me via email or phone. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I look forward to your prompt response. Sincerely, your name. So this is all you would do, and it works great. And then what you would do is just copy it and paste it just like this. Since I can't find their email, I would just do that. Put your information, click send, right? And then now let's go to another county. Now write it for Anderson County. Okay, and now it does it for Anderson County. So that's, guys, one of the fastest little quick trick for you. And that's how you can pull the water shutoff list. Now you just have to wait for a response. Sometimes they tell you you got to pay a few cents per page that they send you, which is kind of silly, but that is how you pull the list. And then how to pull a fire damage list is going to be almost the exact same. Write me a letter for fire damaged properties in Greenville. Sometimes you got to reach out to your county and ask them where to send it. But you can always send it to the fire department and see what they say. If not, they'll guide and direct you on where it should be. So you can just copy and paste it and email it to them, but obviously you want to read through it, make sure it's right, then send it. And you always want to add in for research and the Freedom of Information Act. I don't see it's in here. And then what you would do is just type in for the fire station. City of Greenville Fire Department, and you would find a contact information to reach out to them. Contact the chief. I would just send it to the county and then they'll direct you on where to send it. But that's essentially all you would do. And you could do this for every county and really move that quickly with it.
All right, so we're going to be talking about polling list. Now, you're going to want to be polling list if you're going to be cold calling, texting, direct mail, things like that. You're not going to have to pull a list if you're doing Google searching or paperclip, but we'll get into that when we get into those slides. But these are the lists that you would pull if you are going to be doing the marketing strategies that require it. So I'm going to give you the top ones that I love to use. I also listed out just a few extra ones that all work great. And I just want to let you know there is no such thing as a magic list. You might hear someone say that. It's completely false. Every list is the same. It's all about hitting the list multiple times. Even though, say that you contacted all 1,000 people, you got to keep doing it. And you got to hit them over 10 times. You'll eventually get a sale. So, starting off with the properties I absolutely love to go after is vacant properties. Anything where it's completely vacant. The reason is it's so easy to send someone to the property, especially if I'm doing this virtually. I do not have to call a renter and coordinate it. So many times it's such a pain dealing with these renters. They don't want to show the property or they're not answering their phone. So vacant properties are awesome. And also, real quick, vacant properties are great for buyers, especially flippers, because when they close, they can start flipping it the next day. So they're not having to wait for the seller to move out, which does happen if there are renters in place. Absentee owners, so the owner's not living in the property, so typically he's renting it and they typically are not so attached to that home and they're willing to sell it. So that's why that's a good list to go after. High equity, so they have a lot of equity in the home, so they would most likely they're more willing to sell it because they'll get cash and they're not going to have to go pay off a high amount loan and they're really not going to see anything. So high equity has done great for us. Um, Pre-foreclosure. So this is going to be a hot one. It is competitive. So this is going to be somebody who is about to go into a foreclosure. They just got a notice, hey, you haven't paid. We're about to take your property unless you can do something right now. So a wholesaler can come in and purchase the property. And the best part, though, I will say about pre-foreclosures is a lot of times you can do something called subject to mortgage, and you can just step in and take over the mortgage payments and literally get the home with no money in. So there's a pre-foreclosures are pretty cool with that. Obviously, you can still do that approach with other properties, but pre-foreclosures, we already know that there's a loan in place and something's happening. Liens, so people who owe money for different things, people put lien on their house, they're more willing to sell. People who recently shut off their water, there's obviously a reason, and nobody's obviously living in the property if the water shut off. Same thing to go with fire damage, and a probate list where somebody recently died, and during the probate period, called pre-probate, you can go after those people who are about to receive that property and work a deal prior for it even to come out of probate to purchase it. So these are great lists to go after, and we'll also go in on a video on how to pull these type of lists because there's certain criteria you want to stick to, such as ownership years, things like that. So we'll get into that when we actually go deep dive onto BatchLeads or PropStream and pull a list. how to comp properties. So a lot of people get tripped up right here. And I just want you to remember all we're doing here is we're trying to see what our property is worth in its current condition, maybe in its worst condition, or in its remodeled condition. So one of the best things though to come across is not so much what you'll hear a lot of people say, go try and find the property when it's remodeled and then, reverse engineer it with the formula. But if you can actually find the property that's the exact same in the current condition that recently just sold, that's probably the best comp because now you're going to know exactly what someone's willing to pay for it and you just need to get it below it. But I listed out 7 steps that we take in my company to come up with what this property is worth. And then once we get this number, we're able to come up with our offer. So number one is the location of the property. If the property is located in a neighborhood, you should never leave that neighborhood. So you need to stick within the neighborhood. And the next thing is going to be, I just want to state for the location, if you have a property that's not in a neighborhood, that's going to happen a lot. Say it's on a main road. You want to stick on that main road. Now, you can do a radius, of course, of I would start with a quarter mile, then work my way to half mile, then mile, if you have to really go that far. You should really, though, try and stick within the neighborhood or a quarter mile up to a half mile. If you have to go to a mile, that's fine, but you should really try to stick below. And number two is going to be the timeline. So, how recently did this property just sell that we're looking at? You should always start with 3 months, which is 90 days, and then 6 months, which is 180 days, and then 1 year. Step three, now the age of the property when it was built. So if it was built in 1950, you should only be looking at homes that were built in 1935 to 1965, 15 years above and 15 years under. Same thing with the size, but percentage. So what if the home is 1,000 square feet? You should be looking at homes that are 15% of that size, 150, above or below. Another way, though, you can go by is 250 square feet plus or minus. You can do either or. I kind of like the 250, a little better than the 15%, but we do use both. Number five, floor plan. Obviously, you need to find the house that is the exact same match. So if it's a house that's, say the house is stucco, but you're looking at this house that's fully brick, that's not going to work because it's different material. So you need to be matching it with the same type of house. If it comes down to it that you cannot find a property that's sold, and this is the only one, this stucco house or this brick house within years, you then need to start accommodating certain things and trying to do it that way. Number six is going to be the condition. Obviously, we want to know how much will it cost to remodel the whole property, right? So now we're kind of getting into our numbers to come up with our offer. But we obviously do need to know this, and we can do this by doing quick estimates ourselves, which is just rough numbers where we are, very close to it, but not going to be spot on as if a contractor went there and saw it himself, which is always good if you have those connections to send someone out there. Step seven is now the ARV. What will it now be worth if we do remodel it? What can we sell it for, right? And then once I get that number, then we're able to do our formula minus the repairs minus our assignment fee, and that gives us our max allowable offer. So that's how you comp. Also, there are so many YouTube videos, and there's a guy out there named Jamal, and you should watch his comping video. He goes by the exact same thing I'm saying here. One more thing to add in is never to cross over major intersections. So if the property You know, say the property's in not a neighborhood, but you know, a bunch of streets, but it's like a triangle, right? And what's separating it is major roads. Don't cross those roads. Never cross over the roads because that's a whole different neighborhood and it's going to be a different market in a sense. So just remember that. Um, but this is going to be something that everybody is going to say, hey, I think I'm struggling with it. I just want to say again, there is never going to be an exact answer to what a property is worth because it's if there's someone in the world who will pay $1 million for this property, then it's worth $1 million, which is really true though, because something is worth what someone is willing to pay for it. So it'll come with practice. So one of the best things too you can do is start putting in addresses and start practicing, and then you know, show them to me or somebody else who's been in the industry for a while and can look it over and see if you're doing this right or not. So the more research you do on comping, I really do suggest really try to get this the best that you can, because the better you are at comping, the better the offers that you're able to submit and you're going to be confident.
All right, so we're going to go over how to find buyers for your properties. So first, let's use the paid method. So you would use BatchLeads and go to property search, say Atlanta, Georgia, and we need to find cash buyers. So what we will do is cash buyers. We're going to click that, click away. Cash buyers for single family homes, because that's what we're selling. Ownership. I like to say the owner has owned it for a max, like not even under a year, because that means he's recently just purchased. So he's just purchased within the last 12 months. He could have just purchased last month. So that's why we do that. Keep going down. Skip the mortgage part. Cash buyers right here. Um, Typically, I know a lot of people might say go for company, but you could go for both because there are guys who just purchase here and there. But what I was looking for was, I believe there's a button in here where you can click how many properties the owner has. So let's see if we can find that. If not, that might be something on PropStream that I'm thinking of. You can even click right there, recently sold, which is pretty much the same. All right, so let's see if this can even go further back. Or let's see if we can do 6 months. Cool. So these are people who recently just purchased. Now, since it's not allowing me to do the put the total proper. Oh, here you are. No. Oh, right here. Okay. Number of properties owned. So put 5. Okay. This is somebody who's holding properties, right? So if you have a property that's going to be a good rental, this is like what you would want to do. Type in like 5 properties that they own. So obviously they can't live in all 5. So these might be your buyers. So the people who bought these properties recently too have cash and purchased it. I see some of them look like they're for sale now, so they must have been flips. So what you would do is you would pull this entire list, and then you could cold call them, reach out to them, see if they are buyers. You'll have more of a chance of coming across real flippers and people like that by just doing company. I do both because I just don't ever want to miss anybody. You could do that. You could even play around with, if you have money, you could, essentially purchase them all and see who is the buyer, who's not. But that's what you could do to find buyer. Now, obviously, you could go deep into your neighborhood and do this. Another way is to use Facebook groups. And let's say Greenville, oh, right here. So what we can do is this, hey, we have a property in Greenville. So we need to find buyers. What we can do is go right here, type in drop email. So it's going to search in here. So understand the reason I put that is because when people post properties, a lot of people always write drop your email or anyone interested, and you think of those keywords and type them in. Then you start thinking, okay, when they wrote that, people must have dropped their emails. It's in a Greenville group, and the emails probably are buyers, and they're talking about properties for sale. So I'm looking to sell some of my mobile homes in Anderson, and then to keep them in the park to renovate, drop your email. Okay, so drop your email if you're interested in mobile. So if I had a mobile home park, I would want to steal all these emails, right? And here's a trick. You could copy them all, and you can go down and try to find ones that have a lot like this. This is perfect. So what you could do is copy them, and you can actually pull up ChatGPT and say list out only emails, and then boom, open an Excel sheet and just save them. And then what you can do is you can blast out a message to see if they are buyers and then qualify them. This is a fast way to get buyers, right? And you can do this for any city, any place in the world if there's a group. So if you just think of things like that, even type in cash buyer. Maybe a guy posting here is telling people he's a buyer, vacant land buyer. So tired of throwing these leads away. If you are a cash buyer of vacant land. Okay, so guys, take note of this. He's asking people if they're buyers. Okay, you need to jump in these comments. All these people are your buyers, and you need to reach out to them. So that's how you go about your buyers. The dispo side to me has always been the easiest part. But that's just me. That's the best way to utilize Facebook Marketplace. Another thing to do is create a private group. And when people enter your private group, say it's real nationwide wholesaling, you ask for their emails and things like that. So Facebook has a lot of ways that you can get leads and things like that. Let me just think what else. A few other ways too, Zillow. So go to Greenville. Say that there's a neighborhood you're looking at and you want to find buyers, or you want to talk to the person who sold a house in the neighborhood, purchase one, because a lot of times your comps are your buyers. So whatever comps you're looking at, and it looks like a flipper did it, that's going to be your buyer for the property. All right, so what you would do is you would go to sold. Sold in the last how many days? 14. Say recently sold properties. What I was going to say that you can do is you can click into these properties sometimes, and you're able to see who sold it by the listing agent, and you can always reach out to the listing agent, like right here. You can find this person, reach out to them, ask them who the buyer was, and see if they can connect you. That's just another way that you can do it for free. Obviously, if you have BatchLeads or something, you could just pull it up yourself and skip trace it. So there's just some ways to find buyers, and there's many ways. It's not that hard at all. So let me know if you have any questions.